Chapter 901. Give me your horse. Don't waste your breath on me. Outside the forest, Zhou Juanxiang kicked the scout off his horse and galloped off into the distance. Before long, the dull sound of hooves could be heard from afar. The main force of the Blue Flame Army had arrived. They covered the entire mountain and plains in a grandiose manner. War flags with bare bodies fluttered in the wind, and the roars of giant dragons could be heard in the sky. Zhou Juanxiang felt a lump in his throat as sorrow welled up within him. "Commander! I want to see Lord Commander!" Zhou Juanxiang spurred his horse in the opposite direction of the crowd. All of the Blue Flame Army soldiers were dumbfounded. What was wrong with this vanguard commander? He looked like he had lost his soul. Furthermore, he was the only one who had returned. Many of them immediately thought of something they shouldn't have. "Commander!" Zhou Juanxiang's voice was extremely sorrowful. "It's Commander Zhou." Amidst the crowd, Fu Yu held his saber and slowly stopped his warhorse. He said, "What's going on? Why are you the only one back? Where are the others?" Reporting to Commander, "We were ambushed by Green Lake. Lin Muyu led an army of 200,000 and descended from the sky. They surrounded the subordinate's 10,000 men. This subordinate was almost captured alive. I killed 1,000 of them with my sword and finally managed to break out of the encirclement. Now I can see Commander again. However, the 10,000 brothers of the Vanguard Battalion, what happened to 10,000 men? They were completely annihilated." Zhou Juanxiang was on the verge of tears. "What did you say?" Fu Yu suddenly clapped his hands and said, "Zhou Juanxiang, you've got guts. I gave you 10,000 men to lead the vanguard, but you actually annihilated them all. How can you be the commander of the vanguard?" On the side, Han Shu, the deputy commander of the Dragon Rider Regiment, who was slowly descending on a giant dragon, narrowed his eyes and said with a smile, "Commander Zhou, since you said that you killed more than 1,000 people before escaping, why don't you pull out your sword for us to see if there's any blood on it?" Zhou Juanxiang's face was ashen. "My treasured sword can cut through iron like mud and kill without any blood. Deputy Commander, there's no need to check, right?" "Nonsense. How can there be a sword that can kill without spilling blood?" Fu Yu was infuriated as he yelled, "Men, take down Zhou Juanxiang and hand him over to the military law office. Once I'm done with Lin Muyu, I'll slowly take care of you trash." "Spare me, Commander. Lin Muyu is like a god. He has 200,000 troops. Oh no, 500,000 troops. Drag him away." Fu Yu was so angry that his entire body was trembling. "Why do I have such useless subordinates? I'm so angry." Han Shu indifferently said, "Commander, there's no need to be polite. We've brought an army of 100,000 here to encircle and annihilate them. I believe that Lin Muyu won't be able to escape even if she grows wings. According to the time and direction of the surprise attack on Zhou Juanxiang's troops, Lin Muyu and the others will definitely continue in the direction of Zhanlong Pass. Rather than chasing after them, we might as well wait for them. We'll set up an ambush near Bailu Hill and kill them." "Good, Lord Han Shu's words are to my liking." Fu Yu nodded and said, "I wonder if the Marshal's army has arrived at Zhanlong Pass." "Don't worry, the Marshal has 150,000 troops in his hands. With a pincer attack from the front and the back, Lin Muyu's army of 50,000 definitely won't be able to break out of the encirclement. We'll only intercept them at Bailu Hill, but not block them. We'll give them a path to Zhanlong Pass. This way, they won't fight with their lives on the line, and will be able to sit back and reap the benefits, killing the most enemies with the least cost." "Brilliant plan, what a brilliant plan." Fu Yu laughed heartily. "With Lord Han Shu following the main force of my Blue Flame Army, I believe that this time, Lin Muyu and that old dog Zhen Yifan really won't be able to escape even if they grow wings. Pass down my order, immediately change direction and advance towards Bailu Hill." Bailu Hill was a hill in the middle of the White Radiance mountain range. It got its name because the rocks on the hill were white in color. The mountainous terrain of the Bailu Hill region was extremely rugged and difficult to pass through. However, it was the only path along the mountain, making it easy to defend and hard to attack. Until midnight, the Qin army finally appeared within the range of Bailu Hill. From afar, their figures could be seen indistinctly. Marching under the moonlight, they seemed extremely exhausted. Not good, there's an ambush. Xing Yifan, who was on his horse, suddenly opened his eyes and said. He was also in the god realm, so he could still sense the auras of Han Shu, Fu Yu, and the other god realm experts in the distance. Lin Muyu had sensed it earlier, but she didn't say it out loud. Under the light of the torches, he looked at the map again and said, Bailu Hill. Bailu Hill. Looks like we won't be able to avoid this calamity no matter what. Wei Chou said, looking at the number of flags on Bailu Hill, their numbers shouldn't be less than 100,000. They are the main force of the Blackstone Empire. Are we going to break through just like that? There's only one path to Zhanlong Pass from here, but we still have to pass through it. If we return to Tiger Subdue Pass now, we won't have enough rations anymore. Our rations will only last for 3 days, and we've just arrived at Zhanlong Pass. Lin Muyu's eyes were filled with worry. Su'er said, but if we force our way through, I'm afraid we'll suffer heavy losses. Look, they're on the 2 sides of Bailu Hill, and there's only one path we can take. Lin Muyu didn't say anything. Wei Chou said, if your highness doesn't have a military order, the entire army will continue to advance. What are you thinking? Su'er said. She really didn't want the entire army to be annihilated here. After all, the Zither Dragon army had been established for many years, and a lot of it had been the sweat and tears of her father and herself. Now that Su Muyun had passed away, if the Zither Dragon army was annihilated, how could she face her father in the future? Xing Yifan frowned, but didn't say anything. He just kept looking at Lin Muyu from the corner of his eyes. He didn't believe that the Qin emperor, who had unparalleled achievements and strategies, would really be at a loss. Sure enough, after waiting for nearly 2 minutes, Lin Muyu suddenly said softly, our Longdan army camp has a total of more than 300 heavenly tomes of the Law of Fire. They have already recovered their spiritual power and can be used again. Before Scholar Su Hao left, he gave me another 10 high-grade heavenly tomes, more than 30 middle-grade heavenly tomes, and nearly 100 low-grade heavenly tomes. All of them are heavenly tomes of the Law of Fire. Look, Bailu Hill is very rugged and steep, but the areas close to the flat ground are very flat. This means that they won't be able to use rolling stones to attack us. Moreover, Bailu Hill is lush with foliage. Once we attack with fire, no matter how many people they ambush, they will all be burned to death on the hill. This also means that we only need to defend against their crossbow attacks. The corner of Xing Yifan's mouth curled up, revealing a smile. Su Yu and Wei Chou, on the other hand, were startled and hadn't reacted yet. Lin Muyu continued, pass down the order, the entire army will rest for 2 hours, then start to pass through Bailu Hill. The shield bearers will be outside, the cavalry will be in front, and the archers will be in the middle. The shield bearers must raise their shields above their heads. In addition, gather all of our magic crystal crossbows and open up a path in front of us. While we set fire to the mountain, we will force our way out. Since the people of the Blackstone Empire want to ambush them, then let us have a taste of our own medicine. Wei Chou, Citizen, Shui, and the rest all smiled. Everyone seemed to be very pleased. As long as Lin Muyu was in the army, the Longdan army camp would be invincible. 2 hours later, the army began to gather together and slowly pass through the passage between the 2 mountain ranges of Bailu Hill. Fortunately, this passage was relatively wide and could accommodate nearly 100 people at the same time. As a result, the overall formation wasn't too loose and long. When there were shadows in front of them, the sound of drums suddenly sounded on the mountain. Sure enough, it was densely packed with soldiers in ambush. They're here. Wei Chou smiled. Blow the conch horn and set fire. The conch horn sounded in the Longdan army camp. The stronger soldiers on both sides of the formation took out the embryonic form of the heavenly book. Instantly, rays of azure light shot up into the sky. The scene was spectacular. Tongues of fire spewed toward the mountain ranges on both sides. It happened to be a scorching summer, and the flames of the heavenly book quickly burned the forest. Lin Muyu's figure slowly rose, and an elephant wheel rapidly expanded and extended under her feet. She shouted in a low voice, "All the manifestations of heaven and earth, listen to my command." Borrowing the momentum, violent wind. A spectacle appeared. Endless violent wind blew toward the mountain ranges on both sides of the mountain range. The wind fueled the fire, and the fire rushed up the mountain like tongues of fire. The soldiers who were drawing their bows could not dodge in time and were immediately engulfed by the fire. Moreover, the fire was so powerful that the heavenly book was activated in an instant. The Ashen Flame army did not have much time to think and suffered heavy losses. "Demonic crystal crossbows, go!" Wei Chou shouted. Countless arrows glowing with a purple light landed on the group of people in front of them. Instantly, a wave of hot air rippled out. In the air, Lin Muyu finished summoning the wind and quickly pulled out her sword. With a low roar, she once again gathered the power of the invisible elephant art. Spirit beads of law appeared around her as she slashed out with her sword. Buzz! A golden elephant will pierce through the people in the air like a laser beam. 2 dragon knights were immediately injured and fell. Han Shu held his long saber and rode his huge dragon back dozens of meters. Even with his strength, he was still forced back by the invisible elephant art. He could not help but feel a chill in his heart. The last time they fought, Lin Muyu was not that strong. But now, she was as strong as a monster. "Don't panic, go. Break their formation." Fu Yu raised his long saber and shouted. However, without the protection of the dragon battle spiral, how could the formation withstand the attacks of the demonic crystal crossbows? After nearly 100 rounds of demonic crystal crossbows, the mountain path was already a mess. Without waiting for Fu Yu to regroup, thousands of soldiers and horses charged out from the flames in front of them. It was the 20,000 Qin army cavalry led by Wei Chou and Sidu Shui. They were the elites of the elites. Lin Muyu slashed out dozens of elephant wheels in the air, forcing back nearly 20 dragon knights. For a moment, the divine power in her body was greatly depleted. She landed on the ground and charged forward with the others on her warhorse. As the swords and sabers clashed, the elite cavalry of the Longdan army camp charged forward like leaves being swept away by the wind. Fu Yu, Han Shu, and the others were blocked by the white drill arrows of the Longdan army camp at the periphery of the formation. Coupled with the deterrence of God-rank experts like Lin Muyu and Jin Yifan, they did not dare to attack the enemy's army recklessly. After all, it was only a legend to take the head of a general in the midst of an army of tens of thousands. Chapter 902. How could this be? Fu Yu held onto his long saber as he retreated with the defeated crowd. He muttered to himself in a daze. His face was ashen as the screams of the Blue Flame army could be heard all over the mountain. 2 of the White Dew Hills had already been engulfed in flames. He would never have imagined that Lin Muyu would dare to take the initiative when faced with an army that was twice his size. He even took the initiative to ask for a battle. Was this person really a lunatic? Life was like a chessboard and so was war. The difference between the strong and the weak could change at any moment. Fu Yu had only relied on the favorable timing and geographical advantage, as well as the overwhelming strength of the Dragon Knights. But he did not expect that the army of over 20 Dragon Knights led by Han Shu would be easily repelled by Lin Muyu's dozens of attacks. Facing the charge of the Qin cavalry on the ground who were adept in battle, Fu Yu felt helpless. As a god, when faced with the aura of mortals, he felt the helplessness of being conquered. The sound of hooves thundered. In the blink of an eye, the tens of thousands of soldiers on the flat ground were scattered. Lin Muyu and Wei Chou led the cavalry back and launched another attack to cover the retreat of the infantry. When Han Shu and the rest of the Dragon Knights dived down from the sky, the Qin army had already passed through Bailu Mound and started cruising south. Are we going to pursue them? Flames rose to the skies on Bailu Mound. Fu Yu's face was stained with blood, and the long saber in his hand was dripping with blood. He asked, "Should we pursue them?" Han Shu's expression was extremely ugly. "Forget it. The tiger has escaped its cage. We can no longer pursue them. How many of us are on the mound?" Fu Yu asked. The vice commander's face was pale. 40,000. How many are still alive? Less than half. Damn it. Fu Yu roared, despicable and shameless Lin Muyu. One day I will chop off your head. Just you wait. Han Shu was silent. Killing Lin Muyu wouldn't be that easy. More importantly, ever since the Blackstone Empire invaded the Shattered Cauldron realm, they had been carrying out the order to massacre all those who resisted. The entire Blackstone Empire didn't have the support of the people in the Shattered Cauldron realm at all. They only relied on frenzied slaughter and military might to conquer this continent. Now, the Ashen Flame Army and the Sea and Mountain Army were dwindling, and they couldn't get any supplies. Forget about continuing to conquer the Lingnan Province and Mingshan Province, they couldn't even defend the Lingkong Province. However, the generals of the Blackstone Empire were all proud and arrogant. They didn't care about the commander-in-chief of the Qin army at all. Even now, they still believed that the Qin army was just a motley crew. The most frightening thing was that even the commander-in-chief of the three armies, Bailey Qin, thought the same. Bailey Qin was born cold and arrogant, and he didn't care about anyone. Although he had become a marshal, he had offended many people. If it weren't for his tyrannical strength, he would have long since been assassinated. Extreme hardness is easy to break. This was a principle that had never changed since time immemorial. The Blackstone Empire's army lacked a tyrannical opponent. But now, this opponent had appeared. Lin Muyu's repeated defeats of the Ashen Flame Army had already proven this principle. In terms of strategy and tactics, Fu Yu didn't even have the qualifications to be a student in front of famous generals like Lin Muyu, Wei Chou, and Zhen Yifan. What's more, these famous generals were actually able to work together and kill the enemy side by side. Thinking of this, Han Shu couldn't help but shiver. He actually felt a little afraid. He was no longer so optimistic about the outcome of this battle. Lord Han Shu, are you all right? Fu Yu asked. I'm fine. Han Shu wiped some medicine on the wound of his dragon steed. It was a wound caused by a white drill arrow. It was hard to imagine how powerful that Wei Chao's arm strength was to be able to use a white drill arrow to pierce through the dragon's scales. It was simply too freakish. Fu Yu was a little out of his wits. Now, what should we do? Treat the wounded and bury the corpses of the dead. Han Shu let out a sigh of relief. Save as many as we can, then regroup and follow Lin Muyu's troops to Dragon Slaying Pass. We'll launch a pincer attack with the Marshal's army and let Lin Muyu have a taste of defeat. My lord is absolutely right. Fu Yu repeatedly nodded his head. At this moment, he had already lost his composure. The Blackstone Empire had always valued martial prowess over culture. They had always relied on force to subdue their enemies. The Ashen Flame Army, a dignified main force of the empire, actually did not have a decent group of strategists. Even the original 3 strategists had been whipped and dismissed by Fu Yu after drinking. Fu Yu's temperament was violent and savage. What he hated the most was people pointing fingers at him. Sending a group of strategists to him was tantamount to taking his life. But at this moment, Fu Yu felt how foolish he had been, even though he was very unwilling to admit it. The people who had come down from the mountain were all crying. Many of them had been burnt to a crisp. The military doctors were busy saving people, but they discovered that there was no value in saving them at all. Their hands had been burnt off, and there were countless people who had been crippled. Even if they were saved, they would not be able to step onto the battlefield again. Saving them would only be a waste of medicine. Forget it, Fu Yu's gaze was cold. There's no need to save the crippled. Give them a knife and let them end their own lives. Consider it their final display of loyalty to the empire. If they are unwilling, send my law enforcement squad. The medical officer was slightly taken aback. What's wrong, Lord Sun? Is there a problem? Fu Yu coldly laughed. The medical officer lowered his head and said, This subordinate is only a doctor. I will follow the commander's orders. It's just that these soldiers are all children of the empire. It's a bit too cruel to let them die under the blades of our own people. Then what does Lord Sun think is appropriate? This subordinate does not know, then don't talk nonsense and do as I say. Fu Yu's voice was cold as he said, Pass down the order. After resting for 4 hours, we will set off for the dragon-slaying pass. As long as we break through the dragon-slaying pass, we will be able to kill our way into the southern Ridge province. Every city we come across will be massacred. Consider it a gift to Lin Muyu. The group of generals saluted in unison. Each and every one of them had an excited expression on their faces. At this moment, it was as if they had forgotten the tragic deaths of their companions. What appeared in their minds were shining white silver coins and women, as well as the rich cities and beautiful rivers and mountains. In the depths of the courtyard of the dragon-slaying pass, the night breeze blew and the green willow branches swayed. It was indescribably tranquil. A lonely figure sat in the pavilion. It was Xian. She sat there alone, listening to the sound of the wind. Her elegant eyebrows were tightly knitted, and her entire person was like a beautiful statue. Still not sleeping? It's late at night. Behind her, Teralin's voice appeared. Have you also heard the news? Xian murmured. What news? Lin Muyu led tens of thousands of people straight to the dragon-slaying pass. She even sent out a request for reinforcements, requesting Su Jiantao to lead his troops out of the pass to receive them. Xian's eyes were like water. She looked at the lotus pond in front of her and said, "He came, he really came." Teralyn smiled and hugged her fragrant shoulders. Little fool, what are you so flustered about? Could it be that you are afraid to see him? No, it's not like that. I also can't explain it clearly. I just feel that if I really see him, I'm afraid it will be time for me to make a choice. Xian faintly sighed and said, I can feel him coming. The closer he gets, the more the power in my body will boil. I feel it's time for me to make a choice. What exactly do you want to do? Teralyn frowned. I don't want to harm you. Xian softly said, Teralyn, take Lake and Zhou Shimin and leave the dragon-slaying pass. Once I make a decision, there is no turning back. If you continue to follow me, it means that you have betrayed the Western Divine Realm. That is the scene I don't want to see the most. I don't want you to sacrifice so much for me. Then do you want to see us face each other with swords? Teralyn's voice suddenly became stern. Xian, I don't want to be your enemy. We are friends. If you stay here, I will stay here. I will obey the ruler's will. I will always follow you and listen to your orders until the ruler gives me the next order. Why do you have to deceive yourself like this? Xian smiled bitterly. Teralyn also smiled. Aren't we all deceiving ourselves? Tell me, what exactly do you want to do? My identity is about to be confirmed. Xian said. What did you remember? Yes. Xian nodded heavily and said, even though it's only fragments of memory, I remember it now. That palace is called Zetian Palace. That's where I grew up. I can remember the color of the tiles and bricks of Zetian Palace, and what kind of armor the guards of Zetian Palace wore. Moreover, after I described it, Su Jiantao and Xianxia confirmed that Zetian Palace is exactly the same as in my memory. So, you really are Qinin? I don't know, I can't confirm it. I don't really remember those past events. She closed her eyes in pain and said, I feel like my head was squeezed out by someone. I am no longer that me, and I can't remember my true self. Don't worry, Teralyn hugged her shoulders and comforted her. You will definitely remember. Maybe when that Lin Muyu comes, you will remember everything. Yes, I hope so, right? What did you mean by the order you issued last night? What do you mean? Late last night, Ding Shi led the 20,000 Xin Legion out of the city. I still don't know where he went. Don't think I didn't find out. And now, Xianxia is preparing his troops and seems to be about to leave the dragon-slaying pass. What do you want to do? So you already know. Xian murmured. Teralyn giggled. I am a god. Can the affairs of mortals escape my eyes? Hurry up and tell me, what are your intentions for doing this? I was thinking. Xian pursed her red lips and said, I was thinking if I really am that Qin Yin, the Empress of the Qin Empire, what should I do? For example? For example, destroying Bailey Qin's 250,000 troops. Her expression was indescribably normal, as if she was talking about eating 25 grapes. Teralyn trembled. Crazy, this is simply crazy. Chapter 903. Advance at full speed. In the fertile fields of Yunzhong province, the sound of horse hooves thundered, purple flags fluttered in the forest, rows after rows of iron hooves swept past. Other than the Empire's war flag, there was also the flag of the Imperial Guards. This cavalry of over 50,000 men could be said to be the most numerous and the strongest troop in the entire Qin Empire. Zhang Wei held onto his blade and spurred his horse to gallop at the side of the formation. He was the main general of this battle, leading a total of 50,000 men. This was the first time. Feng Jixing led 50,000 archers and followed closely behind as the center of the army. Luo Yu and Qin Yong each led tens of thousands of men on the left and right flanks. Last was the 60,000 garrison troops of Tianshu province. The entire army had over 200,000 men. When Tongyun Pass, where Tang Xiaoxi was attacked, Yu's letter was sent over. The moment he received it, Feng Jixing was already burning with anxiety. He knew Tang Xiaoxi's personality. If it was not a matter of life and death, Tang Xiaoxi would definitely not ask for help. There was no sound of war drums. The entire army just moved forward quickly. There were war eagles soaring in the sky, opening the path for the three armies. Zhang Wei's order was to quickly reinforce, advance at full speed, directly attacking the Longji army's camp from the back, and coordinate with Tang Xiaoxi and Qin Xiaoli's troops in the city to destroy the Longji army in one move. It was time. Feng Jixing had almost revealed all his trump cards in this battle. One day later, the wild horse plains was hot. A group of wolf soldiers from the northern desert had never experienced the weather of this so-called Central Plains. The northern desert big wolf Lord Mao Dun took off his iron helmet that was inlaid with goose down. He fanned his palms to cool himself, but no matter how he tried, he could not cool down. He said impatiently, "There is no water source here, there is not even shade. Feng Lan actually ordered my 100,000 wolf soldiers to stand guard here. What exactly does she mean? Could it be that she wants to use the hot weather to exterminate my northern desert wolf tribe?" Second Wolf Lord sneered, "Who knows? The Longji army is attacking the city. This time it seems like they have changed. They actually did not let us wolf soldiers touch Tongyun Pass. I really do not know what Tianji country is thinking." At the side, the man shrouded in a black robe smiled. "What is it? Does Mr. Guan have something to say?" Mao Dun asked unhappily. Guan Xing was originally a strategist of the Great Qin Empire. After he was captured, he became the strategist of the Great Wolf Chieftain. In the entire northern desert wolf tribe, Guan Xing was probably the only strategist. "Can't you tell, Great Wolf Lord?" Guan Xing smiled faintly and said, "Feng Lan, Lin Tonghai, and Dora are determined to take the Cloud Pass. Once they take the Cloud Pass, they can easily take the Seven Seas province. Since ancient times, there is a saying that the one who takes the two provinces in the north will have half of the country. If the Seven Seas province and the Cloud Pass are both taken by the Tianji Empire, then the Qin Empire's destiny is really over." "What do you mean?" Mao Dun did not understand. Stargazer said, "To put it simply, Feng Lan doesn't trust us wolf soldiers. He feels that it's a waste of time for us to attack the city, so he urgently sends his most elite subordinates to attack, attempting to take Cloud Pass in one fell swoop and take over the Seven Seas province. That's why he only sent 100,000 wolf soldiers to stand guard here, to block Feng Jixing's troops from the south." As he spoke, a bright light flashed in Stargazer's eyes, and he said, "Feng Jixing is a famous general that's hard to come by, and his battle formations are famous for being steady and steady. Once Feng Jixing finds out that Cloud Pass has been attacked, he'll definitely reinforce Tang Xiaoxi. At that time, our 100,000 wolf troops will have to face the 100,000 elites under Feng Jixing's command, and at least 100,000 new recruits from Dubhe province." Big Wolf Lord was slightly stunned. "What should we do? If that Feng Jixing really attacks, how are we going to resist them?" "We can't resist them," Guan Xing said calmly. "The reason why the Tianji Empire is invincible is that they have dragon knights, who can resist the magic crystal cannons of the Qin army, but we don't. Once Feng Jixing uses the magic crystal cannons, magic crystal crossbows and other weapons, I am afraid our wolf soldiers will become the targets of slaughter." "Then what should we do?" Big Wolf Lord was a little flustered. Guan Xing smiled. "There is only one way. to negotiate peace with Feng Jixing. What? Second Wolf Lord immediately drew his sword and said sternly, I knew that you are still loyal to the Qin family, boy. Now you finally show your fox's tail? You want us wolf soldiers to negotiate peace with Feng Jixing? Dream on. I will kill you now, and let's see how you can bewitch the army with your glib tongue. Guanxing remained calm in the face of the sharp blade. He smiled and said, Second Wolf Lord, if you want to kill me, just do it. After I die, the 100,000 wolf soldiers will vanish in the blink of an eye. They will be buried with me. The 100,000 wolf soldiers can't even defeat Luo Xian, who is guarding the northern region, let alone Feng Jixing himself. Let me tell you, one Feng Jixing can kill 10 Luo Xian. Second Wolf Lord roared and swung his long sword down. Clang! A sharp sword blocked Second Wolf Lord's long sword. It was Big Wolf Lord's sword. He knocked away the long sword and said coldly, Second brother, do you want the northern desert to be doomed eternally? But big brother. The veins on Second Wolf Master's face bulged and he said, This Guanxing is from the central region and has been influenced by the Qin family's etiquette. He is a slave in his bones. How could he care about the northern desert? Brother, have you ever thought about it? We have 150,000 wolf soldiers on our way here from the northern desert and we have already lost 50,000 of our men. What's more, we besieged the Twilight Rain City and forced the Duke of the North, Luo Xian, to his death. Do you think Feng Jixing would be willing to make peace with his mortal enemy? Not necessarily. Guanxing said fearlessly, Feng Jixing is a hero, he knows what is important and what is not. We all know how strong Feng Jixing's army is. Even if we can destroy Feng Jixing's army with Tang Xiaoxi's force, we will suffer great losses. How are we going to defend against Bai Minghuan's 300,000 soldiers? Big Wolf Lord squinted his eyes and said, Mr. Guanxing, you mean, we do have a chance to negotiate peace? Guanxing nodded and said, but first, Big Wolf Lord has to show his sincerity. Otherwise, with Feng Jixing's personality, he might really kill all 100,000 wolf soldiers, just like Second Wolf Lord said. What kind of sincerity? If I am not wrong, Feng Jixing will definitely order our 100,000 wolf soldiers to turn around and attack the rear of Long Ji's army. Big Wolf Lord needs to make the decision. Should we bet on the Qin family or the kingdom of Tianji? Big Wolf Lord took a deep breath and said, the Qin family. Why, big brother? Why do you think the Qin family will win this war? Second Wolf Lord looked confused. The kingdom of Tianji is militarizing. We have already received news that the celestial pole continent is in chaos. The kingdom of Tianji, the Celestial Empire, and the Blackstone Empire have already declared war on each other. The kingdom of Tianji should no longer be able to send troops to the Shattered Cauldron realm, but the Qin family is still fighting. Lin Muyu, Tang Xiaoxi, Feng Jixing, Wei Chou, and Su Jiantao are all famous generals. The hearts of the people are still on the Qin family's side. If this continues, the kingdom of Tianji will completely retreat from the Shattered Cauldron realm continent in less than 3 years. Maodan had always been barbaric and cruel, but this time, he was calm for once. He even saw the situation so clearly that Guanxing was a little surprised. Big Wolf Lord is wise, you can see through everything. Is that so? Maodan looked coldly at Guanxing and said, since Mr. Guan thinks that we should negotiate for peace, then Mr. Guan shall bring my personally written letter to Feng Jixing's troops to negotiate. We can only succeed in this matter. Failure is not allowed. Guanxing was stunned. At least for now, the wolf soldiers were the Qin family's mortal enemies. For Big Wolf Lord to ask him to negotiate for peace was equivalent to pushing him up a cliff. He could lose his life at any time, but he seemed to have no other choice. Yes, your subordinate understands. He bowed. Men, prepare the brush and ink. Soon, Big Wolf Lord finished writing the letter and handed it to Guanxing. He then said, where is Tuoba Lien? A general hurriedly walked out of the battle formation and said respectfully, your subordinate is here. Please give me your orders, Big Wolf Lord. Led 2,000 wolf soldiers to protect Mr. Guanxing and head to Yunzhong Pass to meet Feng Jixing. You must ensure Mr. Guan's safety along the way. After reaching Yunzhong Pass, don't enter. Mr. Guan only needs to enter the pass. Yes, Big Wolf Lord. Guan Xing felt a chill in his heart. What a good Big Wolf Lord. He never made a losing deal. Unfortunately, Big Wolf Lord did not expect that the frontline commander appointed by Feng Jixing would be Zhang Wei. He did not have so many rules. When night fell, the 2,000 wolf soldiers passed through the Black Forest at high speed. Not far ahead, they saw a dense cluster of torches. From afar, they could even see the fluttering purple Yinhua war flags. It was the Qin army. But it was too late to dodge. The enemy sped up and rushed over like a gust of wind. A general rushed to the front with a long saber in his hand and shouted, "It's the wolf soldiers of the northern desert. We have encountered thise bastards. Kill them." It was Zhang Wei. Tuoba Lian hurriedly urged his horse forward. He raised his hand and said, "General, please wait. I am the envoy sent by Big Wolf Lord to negotiate with His Highness Feng Jixing. This is the envoy, Mr. Guanxing, damn you. Chop them all off. Except for the envoy, kill all the others. Keep the war horses." Zhang Wei's eyes lit up when he saw the elite war horses of the northern desert. The empire lacked war horses. The war horses of the northern desert had good endurance and were fast. It was a gift. How could a mere 2,000 wolf soldiers stand a chance against the imperial army's elite cavalrymen? Dressed in a white robe, Guanxing sat on his horse and stood still as he watched the cavalries rush past him. He didn't even move when Zhang Wei chopped off Tuoba Lian's head with his saber. In fact, the stargazer's heart faintly felt extremely delighted. Chapter 904. 2,000 wolf soldiers were massacred in less than 20 minutes. The ground was littered with corpses and war horses. Many people from the Qin army went to chase after the war horses that had escaped. However, Zhang Wei came up to Guanxing with his blood-stained long saber and said calmly, "Envoy, get down from your horse." Guanxing got down from his horse and cupped his fists respectfully. "Northern Desert Envoy Guanxing pays my respects to General." "Guanxing?" Zhang Wei frowned. "It sounds like the name of someone from the Empire. Moreover, your accent is also that of someone from Yunzhong Province, isn't it?" "Yes, Guanxing is from Yunzhong Province. Later on, he was captured by the Northern Desert Wolf soldiers who harassed the borders. He then became a guest of the Great Wolf Chieftain and acted as their strategist." "I see." Ah. Just then, a bolt of lightning flashed behind them. Zhang Wei and a few other captaincy quickly got down from their horses and knelt down. "Greetings, Your Highness Prince Exin." Feng Jixing stepped out from the void space, surrounded by faint energy from the divine walls. With the help of spiritual medicine, he had already broken through and stepped into the divine king realm. His eyes were deep, as if he had seen through everything. He said, "Your name is Guanxing?" "Yes, Guanxing pays his respects to Your Highness Feng Jixing." Guanxing knelt down. Feng Jixing said, "Tell me, what does the Great Wolf clan want to do?" "Negotiate for peace." "Negotiate for peace." Feng Jixing could not help but let out a cold laugh. "Isn't the Great Wolf Chieftain living a good life by following Fang Lan and Lin Tongtian? Why do you want to negotiate for peace? Your Highness, you might not know this, but the wolf soldiers have only been enslaved by the Longji army. They have not truly pledged their loyalty to the Tianji Empire. The wolf soldiers can only eat the leftovers of others and live in houses that are leaky. Every time there is a war, the wolf soldiers are the cannon fodder that will charge to their deaths at the very front. The Great Wolf Chieftain and Fang Lan appear to be united but are actually at odds." Feng Jixing smiled and said, "If that's the case, then we can consider negotiating for peace. Tell me, how does Big Wolf Lord want to negotiate?" Stargazing said, "Big Wolf Master wants to return to the northern desert, but he is under the supervision of the Longji army. So this time, he sent us here to negotiate for peace. We are willing to coordinate with Your Highness and attack the main force of the Longji army from the rear, so that Your Highness's army can be more powerful. The bargaining chip is that after we destroy the Longji army, Your Highness must promise us 100,000 wolf soldiers to leave the Cloud Province and return to our hometown. Return to my hometown? Feng Jixing raised his eyebrows. That seems reasonable. Guanxing's face lit up with joy. That's good, but it's a pity that the 2,000 wolf guards were killed by your Highness troops. I'm afraid it'll be hard for me to report back. What's so hard about it? Zhang Wei, immediately send someone to cut off the ears of these wolf soldiers and put them in a sack for stargazing to bring back. Let Big Wolf Masters see the consequences of going against our Qin Empire's army. Tomorrow at noon, the wolf soldiers must attack the rear of the Longji army from the east. Otherwise, just wait for my Feng Jixing's army of 200,000 to massacre them. Feng Jixing's words were powerful and resonant. He was not joking but speaking the truth. When dealing with a greedy and cruel ruler like the Big Wolf Master, one must be strong. If one were to be too humble and subservient, then the Big Wolf Master would look down on them. Feng Jixing had been reigning supreme for so many years and could be considered to be very perceptive toward such matters. Not long after, a big sack of ears was placed before stargazing. There was no way it could contain all of them. Otherwise, even the war horses would not be able to carry it. Stargazing was just a strategist and had never seen such a bloody scene before. He frowned and accepted the gift in return. With a grim countenance, he bowed once again and said, "Your Highness Prince Exant, please be at ease. Stargazing will definitely not let you down." Feng Jixing nodded and smiled. When Stargazing led the horse far away, he suddenly said, "Mr. Stargazing, do you have any other instructions, Your Highness?" Stargazing turned his head in the night. "If the Qin army wins this battle, you can follow me and be an advisor to the Imperial Guards." "Yes." Stargazing wore a joyful expression and turned to leave. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared into the night. Zhang Wei looked puzzled. "Your Highness, why does our Imperial Guards need to use such people? This kind of slave who kneels down to foreign races is simply trash. Using such people is a disgrace to our Imperial Guard's reputation." "What do you know?" Feng Jixing smiled faintly and said, "Stargazing is someone who is fearless in the face of danger and speaks with great consideration. He is a meticulous person. From his name, one can tell that this person is very strategic. If there are people who don't use them, how can they be worthy of being one of the 3 kings of Great Qin? There's no need to say more about this. After this battle is over, ensure Stargazing's safety. If Stargazing dies, you can forget about living." Zhang Wei turned pale with fright. "Your Highness, are you serious? When have I ever joked?" "Your Highness, please be at ease. Your subordinate will definitely protect Stargazing's worthless life. Stop talking nonsense. Stop the march and start reorganizing. We'll set off tomorrow morning and attack the southern part of Longji's army. We'll launch a pincer attack with the wolf soldiers and Princess Xi's army, causing Longji's army to be defeated in the north and chase them into the 8 wastelands. Why don't we kill them all but chase them into the 8 wastelands instead?" Zhang Wei was confused again. Feng Jixing felt a little helpless. "I can't explain it to you. Your brain is a complete blockhead. If Your Highness doesn't explain, old Zhang will be a blockhead for the rest of his life. All right, the first reason is that if we attack them from all sides, Longji's army will definitely fight with their lives on the line. At that time, we will at least lose more than half of us. Everyone knows the strength of Longji's army. The second reason is that 8 Wastelands has gone through a few wars and plunder. The farmland has long been barren and the people that were originally ruled by the demon race have lost their homes. Now, the entire 8 Wastelands does not even have a single piece of land for planting. Only 1 million people are left from the 8 million population. Where would there be any food to feed an army of 150,000? After Longji's army enters 8 Wastelands, they have no food at all. I want them to starve to death in 8 Wastelands. Third reason, once we... Wait, Your Highness. Zhang Wei raised his arm. I can't think straight. Let me digest what you've said first. Feng Jixing looked at him coldly. His face was filled with a "fuck you" expression. At noon the next day, it actually started to rain. After that, it turned into a heavy downpour. The grassland became muddy. After being trampled by the war horses, it became even more muddy. At noon sharp, the 100,000 elites that Feng Jixing commanded launched an attack from the south of Tongyun Pass. They directly attacked the camp of Long Ji's army. In the east, the 100,000 wolf soldiers also made a move. They roared and charged towards their former allies. The wolf soldiers had suffered the disdain of Long Ji's soldiers. Now that their strength had increased, they had to get rid of them as soon as possible. At Tongyun Pass, the heavy rain drifted. Below the pavilion, Tang Xiaoxi stood there in her white armor. Her face was still very weak. The rain was too heavy. She could not see clearly at all. However, she could sense the dense aura coming from the south. Furthermore, there was a killing intent coming from the east. The heavy rain was pouring. The sound was too loud. However, as a divine king, she could easily catch the information coming from the air. The battle has started. Tang Xiaoxi's red lips moved a little. What battle has started, Princess Shi? Qin Xiaoli was puzzled. Feng Jixing is already here, and there's another army with him. Tang Xiaoxi smiled with clear eyes. The time to turn defeat into victory has arrived. Qin Xiaoli, immediately lead the elites of Tongyun Pass out of the city. Attack the front of Long Ji's army. Ouyang, go and assist them. This time, I will not take action personally. I want to wait for your victory in Tongyun Pass. Yes. Tang Xiaoxi looked towards the south. There was indeed a wisp of aura belonging to Feng Jixing. Feng Jixing did not even send a letter. He was probably afraid that the letter would be intercepted by the dragon riders. It seemed that Feng Jixing was also a gambler. He was betting that he could guess the whereabouts of the imperial army. He was betting on the tacit understanding between the Qin army. And from the looks of it, his bet was right. The doors opened one after another. Rows of armored cavalry rushed out under the cover of the rain. The army led by Qin Xiaoli went straight to the enemy's main force. The rain became even heavier. Tang Xiaoxi slowly sat down on the chair and looked at the curtain of rain in the distance. The cool breeze blew the rain onto her snow-white face. She couldn't help but slowly close her eyes and murmur, "We must win. The empire can't afford any more failures." The sounds of killing came from all directions. The surroundings of Long Ji's army camp were in chaos. Fang Lan held onto his sword and mounted his horse. His face was ashen. What is going on? Who is attacking in the rain? Feng Jixing's troops are attacking from the south. Lin Tongtian said. They are attacking from afar. They attack when they come. They do not care about the taboo of the art of war. Feng Jixing is really a weirdo. Where is the east? Why are there sounds of killing? An assistant general said. Reporting to commander. The wolf soldiers are rebelling. They ate all the rations this morning. Not long ago, they attacked our formation with archers. Mao Dun. Fang Lan roared. You fickle bastard. I, Fang Lan, swear to tear you into pieces. Lin Tongtian rode on the huge dragon and said calmly, Commander, I think it's better to give the order. What should we do now? Once the guards in Tongyun Pass receive the news, they will also launch an attack. We will be attacked from 3 sides, and by then, it will be too late to escape. Head north. We will take Muyu City. As long as we enter Muyu City, we will definitely be able to defend against them. Fang Lan's eyes were bloodshot. Sir Lin Tongtian, Assistant Commander Duo La, please lead your troops to attack. Open a path for our army. Yes. Lin Tongtian cupped his fists. But Duo La was unwilling. The scene in front of her was something she did not want to see. She had already placed her bet on the Tianji Empire. If Long Ji's army was defeated, she would lose too. How could she return to the Western Divine Realm to see Claude? The Dug's spear in her hand shone. Duo La looked at Tongyun Pass from afar. A trace of fear flashed past her eyes. Tang Xiaoxi was the only one who could make her feel threatened. However, Dora didn't know that Tang Xiaoxi was as weak as a mortal right now. Otherwise, she would have made another decision. Chapter 905. After 1 day and 1 night, the heavy rain stopped. Long Ji's camp had been badly mutilated and was in a mess. There were corpses everywhere, and fresh blood mixed with the rain, emitting a strong stench of blood. Long Ji's battle flags were all over the place. The pursuit had yet to stop. Luo Yu, Qin Yong, and the others had already led the cavalry to the Muyu city's passageway to intercept them. Gods seemed to be unable to change anything in this battle. Even though Lin Tongtian, Dora, and the other God State experts had also participated in the battle, they had only killed a few thousand soldiers. They were unable to change the overall situation of the battle. Your Highness, I found it. A soldier held up a commander's flag with the word, Fong, embroidered on it and said, "This is their commander's flag." Feng Jixing raised his hand to take the flag and could not help but smile faintly. They fled in such a hurry that they didn't even want the commander's flag. Other than having a strong military force, the Tianji Empire's commander is really useless. At the side, Qin Xiaoli smiled and said, "Your Highness Prince Exin is really good at commanding." Feng Jixing took a look at him and said, "Qin Xiaoli, you've improved a lot over the years. It can be seen from the few battles at Cloud Pass. Once the Empire recovers, your military position will probably be promoted again. I'll congratulate you first." "Thank you for your guidance, Your Highness." Qin Xiaoli cupped his fists and bowed. He knew very well that if it was not for Feng Jixing's massacre of the Seven Seas Province's generals, he would not have had the chance to make a name for himself, let alone become the commander of a wealthy province like the Seven Seas Province. Just then, an army galloped over from not far away. It was the Wolf Army. Great Wolf Lord Mountain, Second Wolf Lord, Guanxing, and the others had all arrived. Before they could even start fighting, they got off their horses. Great Wolf Lord knelt down, not caring about the mud on the ground. "Great Wolf Lord Maodun of the Northern Desert greets Your Highness Prince Exin." "Get up, Great Wolf Lord." Feng Jixing got off his horse and personally helped Great Wolf Lord up. He smiled and said, "It's all thanks to Great Wolf Lord attacking from both sides. Otherwise, the Long Ji Empire probably wouldn't have been defeated so easily. It's me, Feng Jixing, who should thank Great Wolf Lord for forsaking the darkness in time and walking on the right path." Maoduan's expression was a little ugly as he said awkwardly, "Thank you for your understanding, Your Highness." Second Wolf Lord coughed softly, as if reminding them of something. Big Wolf Master hurriedly said, "Your Highness, we have won this battle. 6 out of 10 soldiers of the Long Ji army are gone. The Wolf soldiers have completed their mission. So, I want to lead the Wolf soldiers back to our hometown, back to the Northern Desert." "Back to the Northern Desert?" Feng Jixing smiled and said, "There's no need to rush. Dora, Fong Lan, and the others from the Long Ji Corps are cunning. Now that the situation has not been completely settled, Great Qin still needs to rely on the power of the Wolf soldiers to fight against the Tianji Empire. Why don't Great Wolf Lord come with me to attack Muyu City? The rations in Muyu City will be enough to feed the Wolf soldiers. Once we have completely defeated the Long Ji Corps, I will personally send the Wolf soldiers back to their hometown." Mao Dun faltered. What's this and that? How many Wolf soldiers did we lose in this battle?" "More than 32,000 died, and more than 40,000 were injured. You see, with so many injured Wolf soldiers, how can we let them continue to travel such a long distance? Let's do as I say. Let the Wolf soldiers stay. The medical officer of the Elixir Department of the Qin Army will treat their wounds. Rest and reorganize. Tomorrow morning, we will go to Muyu City and continue to kill the remaining soldiers of the Long Ji Corps." Feng Jixing's words left no room for discussion. Although he had a smile on his face, his killing intent was hidden. The Wolf soldiers were known for their ferocity and violence, but there were very few cultivators among them. They only had strong physiques, and a divine king like Feng Jixing was simply a threat to them. How would the Great Wolf Lord dare to disobey? He could only nod and say, "Yes, this subordinate understands. Your Highness, we shall take our leave first." Someone, send the rations to the Wolf soldiers. Send the best Elixir Department chefs to make delicious food for Big Wolf Master. Yes. Wait, Big Wolf Master. Is there anything else, Your Highness? Big Wolf Master was stunned. I want someone from you. Who? Stargazing. Ah. Big Wolf Master was slightly startled. Why can't I? Feng Jixing asked with a smile. No, you can? Mao Dun looked at Stargazing and said, Mr. Stargazing, then you will stay by Her Highness' side. I hope you will not forget the kindness of the wolf tribe. Stargazing nodded. After Big Wolf Master and the others left, Stargazing said, Your Highness, what are you doing? Feng Jixing said lightly, Stargazing, you are a Qin citizen. Today, I will give you a chance to serve the Qin Empire. Are you willing to stay by my side and fight for the Qin Empire, and for Her Highness Qinin? Stargazing was trembling. He had calculated everything, but he did not expect this. Are you willing? Feng Jixing asked again. I am willing. Stargazing knelt on both knees. His elegant white robes were stained with muddy water, but he still knelt there, refusing to get up. As ordered, Stargazing is promoted to a rank 4 commandant and will be the Imperial Army's top advisor. Whenever the Imperial Army uses troops, Mr. Stargazing must participate in the planning. It's decided. Zhang Wei, you'll be in charge of Mr. Star's clothes and accommodation. After saying that, Feng Jixing spurred his horse and left, heading straight for Cloud Passing Pass. He was going to pay Tang Xiaoxi a visit. Stargazing knelt on the ground, trembling all over as if he had been given a new life. He was a smart person and knew that it was necessary to buy people's hearts. However, to think that Feng Jixing had allowed him to participate in the planning of all military operations when he had just joined the Imperial Army, making him one of the brains of the Imperial Army. This was not buying people's hearts but relying heavily on him. Watching as Feng Jixing's horse hooves splashed up the muddy water, Stargazing lifted his head, tears gushing out as he mumbled, From today onward, Stargazing's life will belong to Prince Exe. Swoosh! His collar was grabbed by someone, and Zhang Wei tossed him onto the back of a horse as if he was carrying a little chick. Stop grumbling. You're a man, but aren't you being pretentious? I'm about to vomit because of you. Come with me. I'll prepare a set of Imperial Army attire for you. I feel like hitting someone just by looking at your wolf soldier's scholarly attire. Quickly take it off while I can still hold it in and not hit you. Stargazing was stunned for a moment. However, when he saw how uncouth Zhang Wei was, he did not feel angry. Instead, he felt a little touched. At Cloud Passing Pass, Feng Jixing and Chen Xiaoli walked up the city gates side by side to pay their respects to Tang Xiaoxi. Get up. Tang Xiaoxi smiled and stood up, saying, General Feng, tell me quickly. Have we won? Yes, Prince. Feng Jixing laughed out loud. It's not just a victory. It's a great victory. The Longji army has lost close to 70,000 to 80,000 men, and 5 Dragon Knights have also been killed. Other than that, the troops that the Longji army gathered from the various prefectures in the Cloud Province have also been dispersed or incorporated. Princess, don't worry. The Cloud Province will definitely return to the Qin clan's hands in less than half a month. Good, that's good. Who did you send to go after them? Luo Yu and Qin Yong. Good. It's good that you didn't send Zhang Wei. The Longji army's strength still exists. In addition to Duo La, Lin Tongtian, and the others, they can't be underestimated. Yes, I understand. Here, I've received 14 letters to rescue the Emperor. Rescue the Emperor? Tang Xiaoxi placed a stack of letters in front of him and said, when the main force of the empire was unable to resist the Tianji Empire, the prefectures of the various prefectures recruited their own troops. Now, they've all risen in revolt. Take a look for yourself. Feng Jixing flipped through the letters and smiled. From 500 to 10,000 people. The prefectures of the various prefectures have really put in a lot of effort. However, I'm very surprised that these people have openly killed the defending generals and troops of the Tianji Empire. It's good that they're here. It saves us the trouble of recovering the cities one by one. Yes. Tang Xiaoxi smiled leisurely and said, however, we still have to be on guard. It's true that these feudal vassals are going against the Tianji Empire, but they'll also become a big problem for us. Once they gather their troops and become self-confident, it won't be so easy for us to subdue them. After all, the Empire's army has suffered heavy losses and is unable to fight another civil war. I'll pay close attention. Princess Shi, I'm going to organize the army to recover the Cloud Province soon. Are you coming with me? No, I'm going to Cloud Pass. Tang Xiaoxi looked towards the southeast and said, recently, I haven't been able to sleep well at night. I keep feeling that something will happen to Mu. I have to make a trip there. Only when I see him can I feel at ease. I understand. Leave the matters of Cloud Province to me, Feng Jixing. All right, I'll set off in the afternoon. Please take care, General Feng. The northern border of the Empire will be handed over to you. In the southern ridge, the flames of war burned from Tiger Subdue Pass all the way to the central part of Mount White Mang. At the foot of the mountain about 5 miles away from Dragon Slaying Pass, flames soared into the sky. Another bloody battle had taken place. The Longdan army camp had almost exhausted the last of their magic crystal crossbows. Finally, they had carved out a bloody path from the Blackstone Empire's army camp and headed straight for Dragon Slaying Pass. The number of people fighting was getting fewer and fewer. After 3 consecutive days of fighting, Lin Muyu's troops had already fallen from 50,000 to less than 30,000. However, these 30,000 people were like a single spark that would eventually set the prairie ablaze. Therefore, Lin Muyu didn't want to give up on them. However, the moment everyone rushed out of the dense forest of Mount White Mang, they were stunned. In front of them, the Ashen Flame Army and the Sea and Mountain Army were densely packed. There were no less than 150,000 people. Moreover, divine power was enshrouding them. Needless to say, Bailey Qin, Han Shu, and the others were all there. They had already made up their minds to block the exit of Dragon Slaying Pass, so that Lin Muyu's men wouldn't be able to enter Dragon Slaying Pass. What should we do? Is the heavens going to kill our Longdan army camp? Wei Chao's voice was slightly trembling. Our brothers haven't produced anything for a day. If we don't resupply soon, I'm afraid we won't even have the strength to charge. Zhen Yifan and Su Yu remained silent. The cleverest housewife couldn't cook without rice. At this moment, the 30,000 people had already reached the end of their rope. Clang! Lin Muyu pulled out the Ice Origin sword and said indifferently, listen to me. Follow the walls of Dragon Slaying Pass and kill our way in. The Empire's army on the walls will naturally use the magic crystal cannons and arrows to cover us. Let's take as many as we can. It's better than being completely annihilated. Chapter 906. Heavy shield bearers form a shield wall. Below the city, the shield bearers and the shield bearers spread out, forming a human shield wall to block the Blackstone Empire's attack. Meanwhile, Zhen Yifan, Su Yu, and the others led the army forward. In the distance, the gate of Dragon Slaying Pass slowly opened. Su Jiantao stood on the city wall, sword in hand, face full of anxiety, and said, "Hurry, enter the city, hurry." Flames erupted from the east side of the city wall. It was the stone torch chariots, the Pale Flame Army's stone torch chariots. Countless stone torches smashed onto the shield wall, instantly killing and injuring thousands of people. At this rate, by the time all 30,000 people entered the city, there wouldn't be many left in the Longdan army camp. They had to fight for more time. Wei Chou, lead the Imperial Guard camp and follow me. Lin Muyu pulled out the Ice Origin sword and shouted, "Yes, Your Highness. Imperial Guard camp, follow me." The Imperial Guard camp of the Dragon's Imperial Guard camp only had 500 people. They were made up of Lin Muyu and Wei Chao's personal bodyguards, led by Bai Yin. Although they were few in number, their strength was not much inferior to the Royal Guard. The 500 Imperial Guard camp were all cavalrymen. They waved their sharp swords and followed Lin Muyu and Wei Chou as they charged towards the Pale Flame Army and Sea Mountain Army formation about 200 meters away. At this time, the Pale Flame Army and Sea Mountain Army were also slowly approaching. Their shields were raised and their spears protruded. Moreover, the shields had 3 layers at the front and 3 at the back, and the spears were like a forest. They were specially used to deal with cavalry charges. Once Lin Muyu's Imperial Guard camp charged, there wouldn't be many of them left. Archers shoot together. In the crowd, Fu Yu raised his long blade and shouted, "Let that bastard Lin Muyu have a taste of the power of the demon heart arrow." Shoot. In the next moment, arrows came raining down. Lin Muyu, who was riding her horse forward, already understood. She lightly shook her arm and shouted, "Heaven and earth, listen to my command. Ride the wind." Borrowing the momentum of the wind, a strong gust of wind swept across the sky and blew the arrows away. By the time they landed on the armor of the soldiers in the Longdan army camp, they did not have much strength left. They did not even have enough strength to penetrate the skin. Kill! The Ice Origin sword swept out with profound energy from the chaotic light of the common and swiftly tore apart the shield formation and spear formation. In order to cover the retreat of the rest of the people, the 500 guards charged into the enemy formation of hundreds of thousands of people like moths to a flame. They were filled with the passion of a brave warrior who was ready to die. Is that Lin Muyu? On the watchtower of the Zhanlong Pass, Xin stood there in her angelic robe. Her eyes were closed, but she could feel the sharpness of Lin Muyu's aura through her spiritual sense. That was an unruly aura. Even when facing an enemy several times stronger than her, she was not afraid at all. It was as if she had gathered the iron bones of the Qin family's army. Taralin's eyes were blurred as she said faintly, "It is just like the legends say. Lin Muyu is a little different from what I imagined." "How is he a little different?" Xin asked. "He's King Qin, the paragon of the Shattered Cauldron realm, but he's the one leading the charge. He's also very strong, very strong. It's hard to imagine that a god from the lower realm would have such power. However, charging into the formation of Bailey Qin, Han Shu, and the others is like throwing an egg against a rock. Once Bailey Qin attacks, Lin Muyu will end up like a moth flying into a flame." Lake, who was at the side, also nodded. "Yes, that kid is crazy. With such a huge disparity in power, he actually took the initiative to attack?" Su Jiantao held his sword and gritted his teeth. "His Highness Yu is just covering the retreat of the rest of the army into the city. Lord Xin, we can't just sit back and do nothing. I am His Highness Yu's subordinate. If I watch him die on the battlefield like this, I will regret it for the rest of my life. Even if I die, I want to die on the road to kill the enemy with him. Lord Xin, please allow me to lead the army out of the city and fight." "What time is it now?" Xin asked. "There are still 2 hours until noon. Xiang Yu and Ding Shi's troops are not in position yet. We must continue to wait." Xin's long eyelashes trembled slightly and she said, "You all say that he is my lover, but why do I not feel it at all? I don't want to accept a lover that was forced upon me by others." "But Lord, Su Jiantao, don't say any more. Let's wait and see what happens." Taralin clenched her fists and said, "I don't think Lin Muyu will die so easily, right?" Su Jiantao gritted his teeth and shouted in a low voice, "Wang Feng, Zhou Qing, immediately gather our troops in the city. Prepare to fight our way out of the city at my command." The torches and arrows mixed together and smashed into the crowd, injuring the Close Guard battalion but also injuring the front of the Blue Flame army. Lin Muyu and the rest broke through the enemy's formation like a hot knife through butter and headed straight for the main camp. "Are they going to attack our command camp?" Fu Yu narrowed his eyes. Bailey Qin's gaze was icy cold as he said, "Let him come. I also want to see how powerful Lin Muyu, who is said to possess the Supreme Being Godhead, is. Today either he dies, or we die. If he isn't as powerful as the rumors say, he doesn't deserve to possess the Supreme Being Godhead." Han Shu laughed coldly. "Marshall is right." Right at this moment, 2 dragon riders descended from the sky and swung their swords, releasing sword chi as they shouted, "How dare you attack the main camp? You are courting death." However, the sword chi was repelled before it could land. It was a huge golden gourd wall, and it was Lin Muyu's martial soul skill. The Ice Origin sword danced in the air, and a powerful sword chi was released. It was like a divine weapon as it slashed towards the main camp's war chariot. As long as no one blocked it, this sword chi was enough to tear the entire war chariot apart. Interesting. Bailey Qin laughed heartily. Suddenly, a bright light burst out from his body, and his entire body seemed to grow larger. He punched out and forcefully shattered Lin Muyu's sword chi. The wind from his punch didn't seem to be obstructed at all, and it directly struck the wall of Lin Muyu's gourd wall. Pu, sounds of shattering could be heard. Other than Wei Chou and Bai Yin, the dozens of personal guard battalion soldiers around Lin Muyu were all turned into a mist of blood. They were killed just like that. With just one punch, Bailey Qin stopped the personal guard battalion from advancing any further. Countless Blue Flame Army soldiers brandished their weapons, and they surrounded Lin Muyu and the others. Stepping on a cloud, Bailey Qin proudly walked over and said with a cold gaze, "Lin Muyu, you are too arrogant. You brought these people to attack my battle formation. Are you looking down on me, Bailey Qin?" When faced with the overbearing gaze of an 87th level heavenly abode divine emperor, Lin Muyu didn't show any fear as she roared with laughter, and then she pointed her ice origin sword at Bailey Qin and said, "Your Darkstone Empire relied on your formidable martial strength to seize my city and slaughter my commoners. All of you have so many Saint Martial Exalts, Saint Martial Kings, and Saint Martial Gods, but in my eyes, all of you are just a bunch of cowardly trash. Do you really want to die?" Bailey Qin sneered and said, "It's not a good thing for you to provoke me." Lin Muyu's gaze shifted to the side. She glanced at the retreating speed of Su Yu, Jin Yifan, and the others, and she couldn't help but feel a chill in her heart. They were too slow. They would need at least an hour to reach their destination. Thus, she clenched her teeth and braced herself to say, "Marshal Bailey Qin, my people are already exhausted. They can't fight against your Blackstone Empire's army. If you really have the dignity and pride of a soldier, do you dare to fight against me?" "Fight against you?" Bailey Qin laughed out loud. "You clearly know that my Blackstone Empire has more than one sacred martial god and sacred martial king, but you still want to fight against us? I know that you, Lin Muyu, want to buy time and cover your people's retreat, but you are underestimating my Blackstone Empire too much. Do you think you and your people can fight against our generals?" "We will only know after we fight." "Alright, I promise you." Bailey Qin's eyes were filled with disdain. He had long regarded Lin Muyu as a turtle in a jar. He waved his hand and said, "Pass down my order. Stop the attack and get into formation. Prepare for a fight against us." The dense sound of the war drums thundered. Instantly, the Blue Flame Army dispersed. Those who were attacking the Longdan Army camp also dispersed. Bailey Qin's words were the highest military order. No one dared to disobey him. Wei Chou looked a little confused. He said, "Your Highness, you said you want to fight against us, but how can our people have a general who can fight one-on-one? I'm afraid I won't be able to last more than a few rounds against a divine king. For someone like Bai Yin, any dragon knight can kill him in 3 moves." Bai Yin grimaced. He actually didn't know how to reply. Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said, "It's all right. I will deal with them alone. I will buy as much time as I can. Pass down my order. Beat the drums and get into formation." The sound of the Dragon Courage Camp's war drums resounded out abruptly as the Dragon Courage Camp's heavy cavalry swiftly formed into a straight-line formation. The war drums rumbled as they cheered for their commander, whereas the Darkstone Empire's side did the same as well. Both sides faced each other in a circle and were ready to jump at each other's throats, and it seemed as if a great battle would break out at any moment. "What are they doing?" On the city walls, Xin asked in surprise. Terralyn and Lake were only gods from the upper realm. They had never seen a battle like this, much less experienced a battle like this. They all shook their heads in confusion. No one knew what was going on. Only Su Jiantao said in a low voice, "A fight against them. They want their generals to fight each other." Xin frowned. "How is this possible? Bailey Qin is so strong. No one in the Qin army camp can fight against him." Su Jiantao's eyes flashed with excitement and helplessness. He said, "His Highness Yu wants to personally go into battle to buy time for the exhausted soldiers to enter the city. No, I can't wait any longer. If I watch him die in front of me, I would rather leave the city and fight to the death." As he said this, Su Jiantao was about to leave. "Wait." Xin suddenly opened her hand and said, "Bring me the horse. I will leave the city with you." She could faintly feel fear in the depths of her heart. She was afraid to see the scene that appeared in her dream. Chapter 907. Bailey Qin, Han Shu, Fu Yu, and the rest rode their horses out of the battle formation. When they came to the front of the formation, Bailey Qin narrowed his eyes and laughed. "The Qin army is indeed interesting. They are treating war as a game. They actually want to fight against us. Since they don't want to live, we don't have to be merciful. Come, which general wants to fight the first battle?" In the crowd, all the generals were silent. They were all very quiet, because they were afraid to meet the strongest of the enemy, Lin Muyu. Now, everyone knew that Lin Muyu might have already stepped into the Holy King realm. If they were to meet a Holy King realm expert, most of them would only be sending themselves to their deaths. Could it be that my Blackstone Empire doesn't have anyone who dares to fight? Bailey Qin asked angrily. After all, he was the marshal. If he were to fight the first battle, it would be a loss of grace. At this moment, a dragon knight riding on a red dragon slowly descended. The dragon spear in his hand flickered with faint lightning as he said, "Marshal, Sun Yulong is willing to go." "Oh, it's you," Bailey Qin smiled faintly. "The Qin army has many capable people. Sun Yulong, although you are already at the 28 Heavenly Abode realm, you still have to be careful. If you can't win, immediately retreat. I will save your life." "Yes, thank you for your concern, Marshal. But there's no need." Sun Yulong laughed coldly. "I don't believe that there is anyone in the Qin army who can be my opponent. Let me go and kill one of them first." The dragon roared. Sun Yulong pulled the reins and lifted the dragon up. He pointed the dragon spear at the Qin army and said, "My name is Sun Yulong. Who dares to fight me?" In front of the Longdan army camp, Lin Muyu stepped on the ground and flew slowly in the air. She smiled and said, Let me. Lin Muyu." Sun Yulong was slightly startled. He never imagined that Lin Muyu would be the first to fight. Lin Muyu's attack just now had already made Sun Yulong feel extremely threatened. Now that he was up against her, it was hard to get off. Fortunately, Sun Yulong detected that Lin Muyu's aura was not that strong. She seemed to be his only hope. "Come on." Lightning swirled around the dragon spear. Sun Yulong cultivated in the power of the law of lightning, and could be considered an outstanding martial saint of the Blackstone Empire. It was precisely because of this that Bailey Qin wanted Sun Yulong to give it his all. Clap, clap. The lightning flickered even more. Sun Yulong roared and became one with the dragon. He left his original trajectory and rushed over like a bolt of lightning. It was as if he was violating the laws of physics. In fact, this was indeed the case. True divine power was an attack that violated the laws of physics. However, Sun Yulong's speed was too slow in Lin Muyu's eyes. It was as if he was moving in slow motion. He had 10,000 ways to avoid his attack, but he didn't. Buzz! The dragon blood battle shield appeared and blocked the sharp dragon spear with a bang. Lin Muyu's body was slightly startled, and he retreated a little, revealing a hint of not being able to endure. Sun Yulong couldn't help but laugh loudly. "You're only SOSO. Watch my chain lightning attacks." The dragon spear trembled violently. Sun Yulong's series of attacks flew out, and a series of peng, peng, peng sounds could be heard. Lin Muyu either used the 7 luminaries fairy gourd to block, or used the falling star steps to dodge. After attacking like this for 5 minutes, Sun Yulong actually couldn't find a single opening. However, the Ashen Flame Army and Sea Mountain Army soldiers behind him, who didn't know what was going on, began to cheer. The way they saw it, Sun Yulong had already gained the upper hand. His opponent's highness didn't even have the strength to fight back. For a moment, Sun Yulong felt as if he was sitting on pins and needles. After a series of fierce attacks, he had used up nearly half of his divine power. On the other hand, Lin Muyu's divine power hadn't been damaged in the slightest. "What are you trying to do?" Sun Yulong gritted his teeth and said, "You coward. Do you only know how to dodge and not fight? Lin Muyu was calculating how many people had already entered the pass, but it seemed like she couldn't delay any longer. Her ice origin sword trembled slightly as she said, "Then I'll attack. Don't regret it. I've been waiting for you for a long time." With a whoosh, Lin Muyu disappeared from where she was. In the next instant, she appeared on top of Sun Yulong's crimson dragon, and her sword descended like lightning. Cut! The sword sliced through Sun Yulong's opponent's throat. Blood gushed out, and Sun Yulong didn't even have time to say a word before he was killed. It was too fast. This was the first time he had seen a god shatter the void so quickly, and it was also the last time he would see it. "Woo!" the crimson dragon howled, but Lin Muyu grabbed its reins and steered it back to Wei Chou. A dragon mount was a rare resource. How could it be wasted? In the end, only Sun Yulong's corpse remained on the yellow sand. A mighty dragon knight of the Blackstone Empire had been killed by his opponent's first attack. "Motherf asterisk cur, preposterous!" Fu Yu roared angrily, "This Lin Muyu is too much. I'll go deal with him." The saber in his hand flickered with a fiery light. Fu Yu instantly activated his ability to shatter the void, and with a whoosh, he appeared above Lin Muyu's head. Without any explanation, he slashed out with his saber and roared, "Hand over your life." "Wait a moment, Fu Yu." Bailey Qin hurriedly roared, but it was too late. He gritted his teeth and said, "Idiot, you bastard. It seems like you are no longer qualified to be the commander of the Grey Flame Army." Buzz. Raging flames descended from the sky. It was Fu Yu's attack. Lin Muyu had just handed the Crimson Dragon over to Wei Chou when she sensed the threat behind her head. She immediately turned around and pushed out with her sword. Clang! The two powerful forces collided. Lin Muyu was only slightly stunned, but Fu Yu was sent tumbling in the air, pathetically coming to a stop. He was only a Saint Martial Venerable. How could he be a match for Lin Muyu in a clash of strength? Stepping on the ground, Lin Muyu slowly flew up. Her gaze was indifferent as she said, "Who are you?" Fu Yu laughed coldly and said, "Your grandfather is the commander of the Grey Flame Army, Fu Yu." Lin Muyu frowned. "You're the Fu Yu who bathed Ling Han City in blood, the Fu Yu who destroyed Long Qianlin's body on the dragon-shaped island." "That's right. I'm your grandfather." Fu Yu's voice was ferocious and violent. But this time, he had found the wrong person. Lin Muyu's lips curled up, and she actually smiled. "Long Qianlin was my mortal enemy, but he was also my best friend. You killed my mortal enemy to avenge me, so I should thank you. But you killed my best friend, so I should kill you to avenge me. So we're even. But you slaughtered the people of Lingnan. There's no way to settle this score. I can only use your life to pay for it." "What did you say, idiot?" Fu Yu roared furiously. The law of fire in his body surged, and he almost used all of his divine power. His long saber was burning red. He roared, "I can kill you with one slash." "Is that so?" Lin Muyu smiled. She suddenly raised her sword high, and with a swoosh, the blade shot out a golden sword ray that was dozens of meters long. It was the seven luminaries' celestial sword's martial soul. At the same time, scorching energy began to surge, and there seemed to be a purple sun on the blade. It was the Star Arts Purple Sun Strike. Against someone like Fu Yu, one strike was enough. When Lin Muyu slashed out with her sword, Fu Yu's divine power dissipated before it could even collide. He opened his mouth in confusion. He didn't expect the motley crew of the Qin army to have such a strong commander. But it was too late for regrets. What awaited him was death. "Disappear!" Lin Muyu bellowed. With a wave of his sword, all that was left in the air was a pile of ashes. The commander of the Blue Flame Army was reduced to ashes just like that. The soldiers in the Longdan army camp cheered loudly. Lin Muyu had killed 2 people in a row. She had brought glory to the Qin army. "Idiot!" Bailey Qin clenched his teeth and said, "Does Fu Yu really think he's invincible? He's courting death. He can't blame anyone else." As he spoke, he opened his palms slightly, and his divine power gathered into a crimson long sword. He had decided to take action personally. "Wait a moment, Marshal." At the side, the deputy commander of the Black Stone Dragon Riders, Han Shu, said calmly, "You are the marshal of the 3 armies. There's no need to use a sledgehammer to kill a chicken. I just sense that Lin Muyu has a total of 48 auras. Please leave it to me. I will take care of this Qin emperor." "Lord Han Shu, are you confident?" Bailey Qin asked. Han Shu smiled and said, "I have 100% chance of winning. Beat the drums and cheer for Lord Han Shu." The war drums sounded, and a crimson-red Han Shu flew into the sky on a huge dragon. He looked down at Lin Muyu and said, "Brat, we meet again." Lin Muyu naturally recognized Han Shu. The last time they fought, she, Tang Xiaoxi, and Feng Jixing didn't gain any advantage over Han Shu. But this time, it was different. She had broken through the recovery period and obtained the power of the invisible elephant art. She was no longer the same as before. He flew into the sky and stood at the same level as Han Shu. He slowly sheathed the ice origin sword. Han Shu's fists were his weapons, and Lin Muyu felt that it was better to use his fists to shatter Han Shu's confidence. Streams of divine power flowed, and Han Shu laughed loudly. The sky-shattering fist was thrown out at lightning speed. Lin Muyu's body slowly turned back. Her right fist was filled with the 7 planets' profound energy and the 5 elements' 8 wastelands' destruction. She punched out. The 7 planets' profound energy and the power of the space law were reduced to dust. The opponent's punch was so powerful that Lin Muyu was sent flying back 100 meters. It took a lot of effort for her to stop. Han Shu, however, stood proudly in his original position. After all, there was a difference of 10 levels of Grotto Heaven. This difference in strength could not be made up for. Moreover, the 7 planets' profound energy did not belong to any law, and Han Shu used the space law that he was most proficient in. "Is that all you've got?" Han Shu chuckled. Chapter 908. Han Shu was as tyrannical as ever. Each of his punches seemed to be able to shatter space, cut off the opponent's power, and cut off sound and vision. As a result, when Han Shu punched out, Lin Muyu felt her surroundings crack and become chaotic. She couldn't maintain her senses at all. "Take it. Let's see how many punches you can take." Han Shu waved his iron fists in the air, and his fist energy rained down, heavily bombarding Lin Muyu's Dragon Blood Battle Shield and Divine Wall. He laughed and roared, "My heaven-shattering fist uses spatial divine power as its source, and the power of the planes is constantly stacking. The power of each punch is stronger than the last. I want to see how many punches you can take." Bang, bang, bang. Only the light patterns of spatial cracks and the deafening sounds could be heard in the air. But no matter how Han Shu attacked, Lin Muyu didn't fight back. Instead, she maintained a defensive posture. Not only did she use the Dragon Blood Battle Shield, but she also used the power of the Diamond Body. Her whole body was as indestructible as a boulder. "It's the 37th punch." Terralyn stood in the air next to Sheen and said indifferently, "Han Shu's power has accumulated to a very terrifying level. Right now, any of his punches can shatter a mountain. This is no joke. If Lin Muyu continues to defend passively, his internal organs will be shattered sooner or later. He's underestimating the heaven-shattering fist too much." "It's not underestimating. It's the heaven-shattering fist and Han Shu's power." Sheen's eyelashes trembled slightly. Although his power is strong, it's not above Han Shu's. But if he uses defense to exhaust Han Shu's spirit and power, his chance will come. "Oh, is that so?" Lake was also surprised. Clearly, Han Shu and Lin Muyu were both stronger than him. Even though Lake was a battle angel, he had to view this duel with respect. The soldiers of the Longdan army camp frowned as they watched the battle in the sky. They could only see the shadows of humans and dragons colliding with each other. The punches and the trails of the dragon flames were shocking. However, none of the soldiers of the Longdan army camp retreated because they knew that the person who was fighting with the powerful enemy in the sky was Lin Muyu, the Prince of Qin of the Empire and the real commander of the Longdan army camp. Even he was fighting with his life on the line. How could they cower in fear? "Your Highness, Wei Chou swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He began to worry about Lin Muyu's safety. Sidusun quietly sat on the dragon's back, ready to attack at any time. At the back of the Longdan army camp, the gates of Zhanlong Pass opened. Zhen Yifan and Su Er's troops entered the city to take refuge, while a large number of infantry and cavalry left the city at the other exits. Su Jiantao was quietly preparing a counterattack. Su Jiantao originally had 30,000 troops under his command. Adding the garrison of Lingnan province, he controlled close to 100,000 troops. In addition to the 10,000 soldiers of the Longdan army camp, it was enough to challenge the Blackstone Empire's army outside the city. Moreover, there was also the 25,000 well-equipped Xin Corps. At this moment, the situation on the battlefield suddenly changed. Everyone could only see a figure flying in the air, accompanied by Lin Muyu's low shout, "Heaven and earth, heed my command." Then, they saw Lin Muyu holding a frosty fist in her hand, colliding heavily with Han Shu's fist. Pang! The earth trembled, and the sound of the two fists colliding was deafening. This time, Han Shu's attack was interrupted, and his fist trembled as he retreated tens of meters. He stared at Lin Muyu, dumbfounded. This time, Lin Muyu's strength seemed to have undergone a complete transformation. Not only did she have the cold power of ice, but she also had the aura of a mountain. The formless elephant art combined with the astral arts was just that strong. Lin Muyu's figure suddenly changed, and she used the falling star steps in midair. Her entire fighting aura had completely changed. Relying on the advantage of her body being more agile than Han Shu's, who was riding on a dragon, she suddenly blasted out a fist from 3 different angles that contained the power of ice. Ping, ping, ping. The situation reversed. This time, it was Han Shu who was defending, while Lin Muyu took the initiative to attack. Sizzle, sizzle, Han Shu complained incessantly. God knows where Lin Muyu's strength came from. Every punch seemed to be plated with a layer of steel. At the same time, a layer of frost had already begun to spread on Han Shu's wrist, and even his nerves were starting to feel numb. If this continued, he might not be able to use the sky-shattering fist anymore. Therefore, Han Shu had to use a portion of his divine power to melt the frost. Beads of sweat began to drip from his forehead. Pung, ping, ping. Lin Muyu's attacks became relentless, to the point that the spectators with lower cultivation could no longer see his figure. All they could see were streaks of frost blooming in the air. Finally, with a buzz, a golden light bloomed, and the air shrieked. Lin Muyu raised his hands, and a resplendent elephant wheel was formed, and it went straight for Han Shu. Wishful thinking. Han Shu roared, and his fist swept out. The tyrannical sky-shattering fist shook the elephant wheel away, but at the same time, he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. A dignified divine king of the 58th Heaven Grotto Heaven was actually beaten to the point of bleeding. Lord Han Shu. A group of dragon knights rode on their giant dragons and approached. Many of them had already raised their dragon spears and were ready to rush to Han Shu's aid. Scram! Lin Muyu suddenly raised his head and looked at the group of dragon knights. The power of the formless elephant was contained in his voice, and a wave of divine power formed a powerful gale that locked the group of dragon knights in place. Everyone was dumbfounded. No one had thought that the legendary King Qin would be this powerful. They even felt a trace of despair. Don't come over. Han Shu waved his hand behind him and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He said, "This battle is my destiny, as well as the destiny of the Black Rock Dragon Knights. Even if I die in battle, no one can break the rules of the Battle of Generals." Lin Muyu's gaze was indifferent. "Since that's the case, prepare yourself. Come." Han Shu raised his head, as if he was facing death with equanimity. "Lin Muyu, don't push your luck." In the distance, Bailey Qin roared. The sword in his hand was already trembling and humming. But Bailey Qin was too late. He was at least 300 meters away from the battlefield, and the area around him was filled with a strange force field. He was unable to break through space. Needless to say, that was the effect of Lin Muyu's formless elephant's domain. The surrounding air surged towards him. Lin Muyu swung his right fist backwards. His entire body was like a taut bow, and blue energy gathered on his fist. Han Shu's voice was trembling. The prelude to Lin Muyu's attack had already made him tremble. 100 fists of destruction. Han Shu unleashed his strongest move, his body exploding madly towards the sky. But Lin Muyu's attack landed at the same time. The 6 planets' tribulation. Boom. The light from the 6 planets kept attacking, like a baptism from the gods. Moreover, there were also elephant wheels within the light. There were 100 of them in total, and in the end, they merged into one and pierced through Han Shu's body. Pooh! Fresh blood sprayed violently from his mouth as Han Shu instantly fell onto the dragon's back. His divine walls were instantly shattered into pieces, and numerous tiny holes even appeared on his chest. His body had already been completely corroded and pierced through by the energy of the 6 glorious heavenly tribulation. The strongest Saint Martial King in the Darkstone Empire had died on the dragon's back with a whimper just like that. Even Han Shu's dragon let out a mournful cry. It had been heavily injured by the 6 planets' tribulation and the formless elephant's power, and it fell to the ground with Han Shu's corpse. In the air, a sacred Martial King's heavenly Tao lattice of the law of space floated there, glowing with a lustrous light. Lin Muyu slowly opened her hand and placed Han Shu's godhead into her pouch. On the ground, the tiger leopard cavalry and dragon riders were all dumbfounded. They could only watch as the vice-captain of the Blackstone Dragon Riders was killed on the battlefield. However, they should feel fortunate. Out of respect for Han Shu, Lin Muyu had left Han Shu's corpse intact. Otherwise, if the full power of the 6 planets' tribulation had been unleashed, Han Shu would probably have been reduced to a bloody mist. It's your turn. Lin Muyu drew her ice origin sword and pointed it at Bailey Qin. She said, "Marshal of the Blackstone Empire, one of the sacred martial gods of the celestial pole continent, Bailey Qin, you must really want to kill me now, right?" "That's right. You've guessed correctly." Bailey Qin stepped through the air, and the sharp sword in his hand shone brightly. His face was expressionless as he said, "What a good Lin Muyu. You're decisive in killing. You killed my beloved General Han Shu in the blink of an eye. You really have some tricks up your sleeve." "Marshal, are you praising me?" "You can say that." Bailey Qin sneered. "However, you only managed to kill Han Shu by relying on the supreme god force of your supreme godhead. Without this supreme godhead, what are you?" Lin Muyu smiled. "It seems like you've taken a fancy to my sovereign godhead." "That's right. I wonder if His Highness King Qin is willing to part with it." "That will depend on whether the marshal has the ability to take it." "Arrogant!" Bailey Qin roared. He didn't give Lin Muyu any time to react. He raised the sharp sword in his hand and slashed down. It was extremely fast, and a heavy feeling sealed off the surroundings. He didn't give Lin Muyu any chance to dodge. A true expert knew how to make full use of their strength, and Bailey Qin was such a person. She couldn't move with the falling star steps, but this seemed to be within Lin Muyu's expectations. If Bailey Qin didn't have such a method, he probably wouldn't be able to stand up against an expert like Longxi of the Thunderblaze sect in the Blackstone Empire. She raised her ice origin sword horizontally, and the sword's blade was wrapped in the dense light of the 7 luminaries' celestial sword. Lin Muyu's left hand pressed against the sword, using her strongest strength to block Bailey Qin's attack. Clang! The 2 swords clashed, and Lin Muyu fell from the sky. Her body was dragged along the trajectory of the space, as though she had fallen into a huge net. After she forcefully stabilized herself in the air, the blood in her body was already in a mess. Bailey Qin was indeed an expert at the 3rd level of the God Emperor realm. Chapter 909. Break for me! Bailey Qin roared and slashed 3 times in a row. Lin Muyu's diamond body and dragon blood shield were broken. Next would be the divine wall. Once the divine wall was broken, Bailey Qin's attacks would reach her body. A mouthful of blood was spat out and turned into a blood mist in the air. However, it did not dissipate and hovered around Lin Muyu. On the ground, countless soldiers in the Longdan army camp were terrified. Everyone could see that Lin Muyu was no match for Bailey Qin. The difference in their strength was too big. Your Highness, Wei Chou and Situ Shui murmured at the same time. However, no one could intervene in the battle. The battle between Bailey Qin and Lin Muyu had almost formed a huge circular force field. Those who were not strong enough could not enter, including ultimate gods like Wei Chou and Sidu Sr. Xin, if you don't help him, he might die. Marshal Bailey Qin will not show mercy. Terralyn glanced at Xin and realized that she was much calmer than she had imagined. Xin stood silently in the yellow sand. She looked up at the direction of Lin Muyu and Bailey Qin, but she could not see through Lin Muyu. She wanted to help him, but Xin could not feel the bond between her and Lin Muyu. How could she save someone she did not know? Moreover, they were in a battle of generals, so she had to follow the rules of the battlefield. For the sake of the Qin Empire, Su Jiantao appeared beside Xin and said, "Master Xin, please help His Highness you. If he dies, the backbone of the Qin Empire will fall." Xin moved her red lips and took a step forward. However, she seemed to be hindered by something and her shoulders trembled. "I can't do it. I can't do it, Su Jiantao." "Why exactly?" Xin's voice trembled. "I can't submit to the fate that others have arranged for me. Sister Haiyan told me this before. I don't even know if I'm Qin Yin." Su Jiantao remained silent. In the sky, the collision between the two forces became more and more intense. The fifth element and the shapeless elephant technique fused together and heavily shook Bailey Qin's blade. However, Bailey Qin did not gain the upper hand at all. In fact, Lin Muyu's own spirit wall had already been destroyed and was starting to disintegrate. Russell, Bailey Qin's divine power was strong. When he waved his sword, the fine sand turned into sharp blades and continuously cut open wounds on Lin Muyu's body. In the blink of an eye, her white battle robe was dyed red with blood. "But have you reached your limit?" Bailey Qin laughed crazily. His sword once again struck Lin Muyu's ice essence sword. Dang! The ice essence sword that Si Kongyao gifted to her instantly shattered. The master's strength was not enough, and the result was the destruction of this sacred weapon. Lin Muyu looked at the shattered ice essence sword in the sky and felt a chill in her heart. She had underestimated Bailey Qin's strength. In terms of battle strength, Bailey Qin, who was an 87th level Grotto Heaven God Emperor, was probably above the Demon Emperor Nushi. If this is your limit, then you don't deserve to own the great land of the Shattered Cauldron world. Bailey Qin laughed loudly. You Qin people talk about burying your loyal bones in the mountains. Lin Muyu, don't worry. After you die, I will piece your corpse piece by piece and bury it under the mountains of the dragon-slaying pass. I will let you live forever. However, I, Bailey Qin, will have to help you rule this land. Is that so? Lin Muyu suddenly smiled. The smile on his face was exceptionally coquettish. He suddenly rotated his palm and the blood mist that he had condensed around his body was pulled up and danced into a ball. Thunder and lightning flashed around the blood mist. Even the entire sky turned dark and blood red. Finally, he decided to use the unique skill that he had just cultivated, the 8th style of the star technique, blood refining the firmament. Using the blood of a god to purify the firmament and cleanse all sins. The golden red blood ball in his hand was getting bigger and bigger. Lin Muyu's strength was also increasing. The increase in strength even made Bailey Qin feel a little threatened. Oh! Bailey Qin squinted his eyes and smiled. This is getting more and more interesting. There is actually such a powerful martial technique in the mortal world. I really didn't expect it. However, do you think you can defeat me with this? Lin Muyu didn't say anything. He swept his palm and the power of the blood refining the firmament whizzed over. Bang! Lightning exploded in the sky. Bailey Qin used his rock shield to protect himself. His rock shield, which was said to be as hard as a rock, was continuously disintegrated and cracked under the attacks of the blood refining the firmament. Bailey Qin was slightly startled. He hurriedly condensed even more divine power to repair his rock shield, but it seemed that it was already too late. Swoosh! The blood ball swallowed Bailey Qin and his sword. Furthermore, the blood ball grew bigger and bigger until it was as big as the moon. The surrounding soldiers of the two armies were forced to retreat by the tyrannical impact. Their faces were all pale. There were continuous explosions in the blood refining the firmament. Lin Muyu and Bailey Qin were still fighting. However, the people outside couldn't see clearly what was happening. Sidu Shui bit her red lips and said with a heartache, "Your Highness is using your own blood to keep Bailey Qin in check." "Your Highness." Wei Chou clenched his fists and didn't say a word. As for Terralin, Lake, Zhou Ximin, and the others, they were all dumbfounded. Ever since they were young, they had been taught that the celestial realm was supreme. Those below the celestial realm were all ants. However, the scene they were seeing right now was completely different. Lin Muyu and Bailey Qin's strength, even in the celestial realm, wouldn't they be ranked among the top? Marshal! In the Blackstone Empire's army, a group of captaincy stared with their mouths agape. Bailey Qin was their last hope. If Bailey Qin was defeated, then the 200,000-strong army of the Blackstone Empire would be like a group of dragons without a leader. At that time, the consequences would be unimaginable. Peng! Finally, a corner of the blood ball formed by the blood refining the firmament exploded. Resplendent golden light shone from within. Following that, the entire blood ball began to collapse. The result was clear. Bailey Qin stood proudly in the sky like a god. He raised his sword and pierced through Lin Muyu's abdomen. Lin Muyu had been defeated. Everyone turned pale with fright. The soldiers in the Longdan army camp were even more terrified. Many of them were already crying. "Your Highness! Your Highness, don't." However, Lin Muyu wasn't completely unconscious. A bright moonlight flashed in her palm and landed heavily on Bailey Qin's shoulder. It was the falling moonstream. Bailey Qin spat out another mouthful of blood. He swung his sword and slammed Lin Muyu's body onto the ground. Lin Muyu's body was covered in blood as she fell onto the yellow sand. At the same time, blood splattered everywhere. Terralin, Xin, and the others were all stained with some of it. "Your Highness! Your Highness!" Wei Chou, Sidusin, and the others hurriedly rushed over. However, at this moment, a whimpering sound suddenly rang out from behind. It was Xiyin. Her flawless face seemed to be on fire as streaks of blood-red flames flickered in and out of nowhere. Lin Muyu's blood had splattered onto her face. Xin was in so much pain that she whimpered. Her skin was burning inch by inch. The pain was unimaginable. However, she didn't know why this was happening. Why would Lin Muyu's blood resonate with the blood in her body? At that moment, Lin Muyu slowly raised her head and saw an unforgettable scene. The young girl was dressed in strange clothes. Her eyes were closed and she was moaning in pain. Her appearance and posture were exactly the same as the person she missed. "Xiaoyin, is that you?" Lin Muyu murmured. Xin gritted her teeth and energy surged from the depths of her body. She whimpered and an unknown power quickly broke through the limits of her blood and broke out of her body. They were golden chains, the god-binding chains. At that moment, countless images appeared in Xin's mind. The scenes of the past, the laughter, the crying, all appeared in her mind. She remembered everything. In the air, Bailey Qin's voice sounded. He held his sword with both hands and descended. The long sword pierced through Lin Muyu's back and pinned him to the ground. Blood flowed down the blade of the sword. Lin Muyu endured the heart-wrenching pain, but she still raised her head and looked in Qin Yin's direction. Tears flowed down her cheeks. "Xiaoyin, don't, Xiaoyin." Xin's body trembled and she suddenly opened her eyes. Instantly, the flaming eyes shone brightly and swept across the battlefield. She looked at the familiar scene in front of her and suddenly shouted from the bottom of her heart, "Let him go, let him go." "What did you say?" Bailey Qin looked at her arrogantly. Xin's figure had already turned into a bolt of lightning. The stellar sword pierced through the air and slashed towards Bailey Qin's shoulder with unparalleled power. Shi Yan's 7 slashes. The third strike, destruction. Even someone as strong as Bailey Qin was slashed and rolled on the ground, blood spurting from his mouth. Xin brushed past Lin Muyu, who was kneeling on the ground. The two of them stood back to back. Suddenly, a ray of light shone brightly. Lin Muyu cried out in pain. The God-binding chains in her body seemed to have been triggered and broke out of her body. The God-binding chains in Xin's body also responded to each other. The multiple God-binding chains in her body pulled and fused with each other, lifting their bodies up and binding them back to back. The resonance of their bloodlines triggered the resonance of heaven and earth. The light in the sky flickered. Is it really you? Lin Muyu's voice was weak. I don't know, maybe it's me. Xin replied, but her tears could not stop flowing. Tell me, quickly tell me, everything. Lin Muyu coughed violently and said, I have been waiting here for you, waiting for you to come back. Whether you remember me or not, I will continue to wait. I know the pain of the 6 paths of reincarnation. I will keep my promise to Emperor Father and continue to wait. Whether you love me or not, you will always be my Xiao-yin. You are worthy of me protecting you with my life. Xin's mind instantly became clear. She had completely remembered everything. Silly girl, if you protect others like this, who will protect you? Her tears fell like rain. She cried and said, I am Qin-yin. I am Qin-yin. I remember everything. Lin Muyu, from today onwards, I, Qin-yin, will protect you. Chapter 9-10. The light of the God-binding chains gradually dimmed and retracted back into their bodies. With a rustling sound, Lin Muyu's feet touched the ground, but a wave of dizziness came over her. Her injuries were too severe, and she fell down. Qin-yin hurriedly turned around and hugged him, but she didn't dare to look at Lin Muyu's eyes. Xiao-yin, Lin Muyu forced her eyes wide open and said, Let me look at you. No, you don't want to see me. It's okay. No matter what you become, you will always be my Xiao-yin. Lin Muyu coughed violently, and her whole body trembled. Qin-yin slowly turned her face, and a pair of blazing eyes with golden flames floating in them looked at her lover blankly. But what she didn't expect was that Lin Muyu could actually look her in the eyes. In fact, Lin Muyu was also indescribably amazed. The blazing eyes was a kind of domain power, and the feeling of burning one's soul was not pleasant to anyone. But the invisible elephant art that Lin Muyu cultivated was also a domain power, and it was a divine art that came from God Emperor Fuxi of the sky beyond heaven. As long as Lin Muyu used a bit of the invisible elephant art, she would naturally be able to look Qin-yin in the eyes. Actually, this kind of eyes is also very beautiful. Lin Muyu smiled. 2 lines of crystal-clear tears fell from the blazing eyes. Qin-yin hugged Lin Muyu tightly and said, Thank you. Thank you. At this time, Terralyn walked forward and put one hand on Lin Muyu's arm and said to Qin-yin, I don't know if it's better to call you Qin-yin or Xin, but I'll call you Xin for now. I'm used to it. Terralyn? Terralyn nodded and said, I'll take care of him. You go kill Bailey Qin. Bailey Qin is already injured, so you can't let him escape. Otherwise, he'll definitely take revenge. You and I both understand the principle of exterminating evil. If we don't kill Bailey Qin today, I'm afraid we won't have another chance like this in the future. Qin-yin let go of Lin Muyu's hand. Light circulated in her palm and gathered into the shape of a stellar sword. She said softly, Big brother you, wait for me here for a while. Lin Muyu lowered her head and did not speak. After being severely injured by Bailey Qin, she did not even have the strength to speak. Kill! Su Jiantao and Wei Chou raised their swords at almost the same time. The army madly charged towards the Blackstone Empire's army. In the midst of the chaos, a golden light blossomed. It was the eyes of the blazing light colliding with Bailey Qin's domain. Immediately after, tens of sky dragon crystals fell, and Shi Yan's 7 slashes swept across the battlefield. Lin Muyu and Terralyn stayed where they were, watching the battle from afar. Before the 50th round, a heart-wrenching wail came from the sky. It was Bailey Qin's voice. Pieces of broken rock walls fell from the sky like rain. This meant that Bailey Qin's godly power was already disintegrating. After another 50 rounds, the clouds in the sky exploded with a shocking light. A figure fell from the sky. It was Bailey Qin's body, but it was headless. Pa! In the energy screen that shattered the void, Qin Yin appeared beside Lin Muyu, holding Bailey Qin's head in her hand. Give it to me, Terralyn demanded. Qin Yin nodded her head. A few seconds later, Terralyn carried Bailey Qin's head and flew into the sky. She raised the head high and said with a voice as loud and clear as the descent of a deity, Bailey Qin was cruel and vicious. He has been killed. Soldiers of the Blackstone Empire, give up resisting. You have already lost. Originally, the more than 200,000 soldiers of the Blackstone Empire had the upper hand. The Tiger Leopard cavalry had charged forward and killed many soldiers of the Qin army. However, after Terralyn's shout, they immediately lost their will to fight. Bailey Qin was not only the Blackstone Empire's marshal, but also one of the two sacred martial gods. He was the military god of the Blackstone Empire and the symbol of military strength. Now that Bailey Qin was dead, the mountain of the Blackstone Empire's army had collapsed. In the next moment, the army collapsed. Sounds of killing could be heard from afar. It was Xianxia and Ding Shi's army. The plains in front of the dragon-slaying pass were like a large net. Now that the net had been opened, all that was left was to catch the fish in the net. Wei Chou looked excited. He raised his sword and led the Longdan army camp to charge back and forth. How many days had it been? He had been enduring the pressure of being hunted. Now, he could finally fight back to his heart's content. Dust flew everywhere. The area within a radius of 10 kilometers had been turned into a battlefield. It was difficult to distinguish between friend and foe. However, as long as they saw someone wearing the black armor of the Blackstone Empire, they would start fighting. In the beginning, the Ashen Flame Army and the Sea Mountain Army were still able to resist a little. However, when Ding Shi and Xiangyu's troops joined the battle, this kind of resistance was weakened. The Dragon Knights in the sky kept circling around. From the beginning of the slaughter, they were unable to do anything. Even Terralyn Lake and the others joined the battle. It was rare to see a battle angel killing a Dragon Knight. Qin Yin was full of guilt. She didn't think that Terralyn, Lake, and the others had already made the decision to help the state of Qin fight against the Blackstone Empire. If the various gods of the Western Divine Realm were to find out, her family would probably be implicated as well. You, come with me. Qin Yin put Lin Muyu's arm on her shoulder and flew up to the dragon-slaying pass. She sat down at a gap in the battlement that had been destroyed by the stone torch carts. She nestled in Lin Muyu's arms and gently opened her palm. The warm power of the law of light permeated the wound like a warm sun. Immediately, Lin Muyu's wound began to stop bleeding and quickly healed. She knew that Lin Muyu wanted to see this battle with her own eyes. This battle was related to the future of the entire Lingnan and the survival of half of the country. However, what Qin Yin didn't expect was that Lin Muyu didn't look at the battle below the city wall. Instead, she looked straight at her. Immediately, Qin Yin's face turned red. What's wrong? This time, you're not leaving, right? Lin Muyu asked without much confidence. Yes, I'm not leaving. What is the Western Divine Realm like? Is that the last reincarnation of the Heavenly Tao? Yes. Qin Yin gently nodded and said, Sister Hien said that as long as I remember everything, it means that the 6 paths of reincarnation is over and I can be a new person. You're not completely a person now, but a god. Lin Muyu looked at her attire and smiled. However, this smile affected the wound and she couldn't help but let out a cry. You're too careless, don't move. Qin Yin frowned slightly and used a dagger to cut open the armor on Lin Muyu's abdomen. After applying medicine, she tore off the white skirt of the Western Divine Realm and carefully bandaged it for him. As she bandaged it, her heart felt like it was being stabbed by a knife because she saw that there were many crisscross scars on Lin Muyu's body. He had been guarding the Great Qin Empire for so many years. God knows how many times he had been injured. Xiaoyin. Yes. Don't cry. Lin Muyu struggled to raise her palm and used her dirty fingers to wipe away Qin Yin's tears. Instead, there were 2 gray marks on her snow-white face. Lin Muyu hurriedly put down her hand and pretended that nothing had happened. Qin Yin giggled and leaned her face on Lin Muyu's chest. I'm sorry, it's all because of my willfulness that you've suffered so much. You are indeed willful. Lin Muyu leaned against the broken wall and said, your willfulness almost caused Lingnan to suffer a great disaster. Xiaoxi was criticized and suffered for so many years. Your willfulness almost caused the entire Qin Empire to be completely destroyed. I was wrong. Qin Yin raised her face and looked like she was begging for mercy. I really know I was wrong. I will always stay by your side and never leave you. That's what you said. By the way, do you still remember that Xiaoxi went to save you in the ghost realm? I remember all of it. Qin Yin nodded and her eyes turned red. I owe Xiaoxi too much. The three of us don't owe each other anything. Lin Muyu smiled slightly. You give because you care. This kind of giving doesn't ask for anything in return. So don't feel guilty. If something like that happened to Xiaoxi, you and I would do the same. Well, where is Xiaoxi now? Qihai Province. I don't know how the war is going there. That's the main force of the Tianji Empire. Lin Muyu sighed worriedly. Qin Yin held his hand and said, Brother Yu, Xiao Yin is back now. I will share the burden with you and Xiaoxi. We will fight the enemy side by side. We will definitely drive all the bandits out. I've been in the Western Heaven realm for so many years, so I know very little about the Shattered Cauldron world. Tell Xiao Yin about what happened in the past few years? Qin Yin sat beside Lin Muyu and looked at the battlefield in the distance that was filled with smoke and dust. Lin Muyu rested her head on her arms and let the warm sunlight fall on her body. She said with a smile, actually, not much happened. The Iha kingdom was defeated and fled to the dragon-shaped island in the East Sea. Brother Feng Jixing led the fleet to encircle them and returned in defeat. Then, Wei Chou of the Longdan army camp fought with the demon race in the East region and spent 3 years to defeat the entire demon race and drove the demon race into the frozen polar lands in the north. Then, the collision of the two spirit mountains caused the plains to merge. The celestial pole land pirates came and killed the demon race's demon emperor, Feng Ning, and Feng Jing. Qianfeng was forced to lead the Central South Iron Cavalry to surrender to us. You should know what happened after that. Then this battle will be the true turning point. Qin Yin looked into the distance and said faintly, I didn't expect this. I thought I would sink into hell, but after so many twists and turns, I finally came back here. I can come back to you again. This feeling of returning home is really great. It's a pity that people from home have come. Then ask them to leave. Qin Yin giggled. Xiao Yin, you haven't told me about your eyes and your identity as an angel. What is going on? Qin Yin suddenly thought of the various unbearable experiences in the land of exile and the Western divine realm. She immediately frowned and said, Brother Yu, I don't want to recall these things for now. I'll tell you one by one in the future. Lin Muyu also knew that she must have experienced many painful memories, so he sat up and hugged her shoulders, saying, Forget the things that you don't want to remember. It's good that you can return. This is really like a dream. Qin Yin was taken aback. She turned around and brought her beautiful face closer to Lin Muyu's. Then, she kissed Lin Muyu's lips lightly. She even bit his lower lip with a little force. Is it true? It's true. Lin Muyu touched his lips. It really hurts. The bite of the 50th Paradise God wave. Qin Yin couldn't help but smile and gently hugged him, saying, It's really good to be back by your side. Ahem, Xiao Yin, you've grown bigger. What a frivolous feeling, but Qin Yin also knew that such a frivolous person was the real Lin Muyu. In front of others, he had to put on the airs of the Qin Emperor, but in front of her, he could be his true self without any scruples. Chapter 9-11. Late at night, the flames of war continued to spread in the distance. From Zhanlong Pass all the way to Linghan City, there were scenes of killing and killing everywhere. There were over 10,000 people in the Longdan army camp, plus the 100,000 people under Su Jiantao, Xiang Yu's troops, and Xin's troops. In total, There were close to 200,000 soldiers fighting a bloody battle with the 230,000 soldiers of the Blackstone Empire. Even if the enemy had lost their will to fight, it wasn't an easy task to kill them all. Perhaps this process would last for a week or even a month. All the generals seemed to have a tacit understanding to not leave any captives. After the invasion of the Blackstone Empire, they would massacre most of the cities they passed through. In Linghan City alone, they had massacred close to 100,000 civilians. The originally prosperous Linghan City had countless villages and towns within 100 kilometers, but now it had become a desolate and uninhabited land. There were even many places where the corpses hadn't completely rotted yet. The relationship between the Qin Empire and the Blackstone Empire was that of mortal enemies with no room for negotiation. Therefore, they wouldn't leave any captives. The Blackstone Empire was completely annihilated, and the order given by Lin Muyu was the same: leave no one alive. The remaining 20 or so dragon riders of the Blackstone Empire had already lost their will to fight. They flew away from the mainland and returned to the celestial pole continent. Meanwhile, the tiger leopard cavalry on the ground were gradually retreating under the sharpness of the magic crystal crossbows and white drill arrows. The outcome was already decided. At night, the Zhanlong Pass residence was brightly lit. Servants and workers came in an endless stream. Wei Chou left Bai Yin and a group of guards to protect Lin Muyu. Meanwhile, Xin was protected by Terralin, Lake, and the others. The officials of the residence prepared an extremely sumptuous banquet. Firstly, it was to welcome Lin Muyu, and secondly, it was to celebrate the return of the Empress Qin Yin to the world. After 5 years of implementation of the three kings ruling the world, it was finally time to change the national policy. The candles were brightly lit. Under the illumination of the lanterns, Shangguan Jingyue happily sat beside Qin Yin, reminiscing about the feelings of parting. Lin Muyu suddenly raised her head and said, "We have guests." His spiritual pulse art was very sensitive to auras. It was not until 3 minutes later that Qin Yin also sensed it. She couldn't help but stand up and smile. "Yes, Xiao Shi. We're going to welcome her?" N. 2 silhouettes flew out of the mansion and headed north in the night sky. From afar, it seemed that Tang Xiaoxi had also sensed the aura here. Lin Muyu took out a dragon crystal and used it as a light source. She could see Tang Xiaoxi from a few miles away. Tang Xiaoxi was stunned. She saw a girl in a battle angel costume beside Lin Muyu. She looked very familiar. Although her eyes were closed, she could still vaguely recognize her. "Is that you?" Tang Xiaoxi asked in a trembling voice. Qin Yin didn't say anything. She just lightly opened her arms. Xiao Yin." Tang Xiaoxi had mixed feelings. She quickly flew into Qin Yin's embrace. The two girls' figures created ripples in the air and rushed out for a long distance before stopping. Lin Muyu also flew over and said, "Xiao Shi, how's the Seven Seas province?" "The Long Ji Corps has been defeated." Tang Xiaoxi was still hugging Qin Yin tightly, as if she was afraid that she would accidentally fly away. She said, "Commander Feng has instigated 100,000 wolf soldiers to join forces with our Cloud Pass, and defeated the 150,000 Long Ji army led by Feng Lan. Now that the Long Ji army has been defeated, I reckon that within a month, they will be chased out of Cloud Province by Commander Feng." "That's great." Lin Muyu was relieved. Now, the biggest threat was the 300,000 soldiers of the Tianji Empire led by Bai Minghuan. She didn't know if there was a battle in the direction of Tsangnan Province's steel wall. However, Tang Xiaoxi and Qin Yin didn't seem to be concerned about the battle. Instead, they were asking about each other's well-being. It would be a long story. Lin Muyu touched her nose. She felt that she was left out when the two women were together. She said, "I'm so hungry. Let's go back and eat while we talk, okay?" But Tang Xiaoxi was hungry too. After flying for a day without any rest, how could she not be hungry? When the three of them reappeared in the banquet hall, all the officials left their seats. Everyone knelt down in unison and shouted, "Greetings, Your Highness! Greetings, Emperor Qin! Greetings, Princess Shi!" Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi looked at Qin Yin with a smile. Qin Yin understood tacitly. She raised her hand slightly and said, "Everyone, please rise and continue to eat. There's no need to be so formal." Everyone thanked her. Lin Muyu supported Qin Yin and brought her back to her seat. Qin Yin could only close her eyes when facing these mortals. Otherwise, when she opened her flaming eyes, these people wouldn't be able to bear it at all. As an empress, it was natural for her to take care of the officials' feelings. Halfway through the banquet, there were hurried footsteps outside. Su Jiantao walked in wearing a blood-stained armor. He knelt down on one knee and said, "Greetings, Your Highness. You may rise." Lin Muyu greeted Qin Yin. "Markhun, how's the battle going?" "Reporting to Your Highness, I led an army of 100,000 to pursue the enemy for nearly 50 kilometers. There were 3 consecutive large-scale bloody battles and we beheaded more than 70,000 people. As for Xiang Yu's and Ding Shi's troops, I don't know about them for the time being." 70,000 people beheaded? Lin Muyu smiled happily and said, "What about our losses?" Su Jiantao said, "More than 39,000 people died in battle, more than 10,000 were seriously injured, and more than 20,000 were lightly injured. I have returned, and the Deputy General will lead the army to continue the pursuit. May I request the Dragon-Slaying Pass to immediately send rations to the front line?" "Got it. Go to the Military Supplies Department to handle it." Lin Muyu frowned. "We actually lost so many of our own. Inconceivable." "Su Jiantao, did you recklessly charge in and fall into the enemy's trap?" Su Jiantao hurriedly knelt down again. "Your Highness, please don't wrongly accuse me. I advanced step by step and fought steadily. However, the soldiers of the Blackstone Empire are all lunatics. Once they are forced into a desperate situation, they start to fight with their lives on the line. Moreover, their beast cavalry is really powerful. Our 3 cavalrymen fought against 1 beast cavalry, but we still lost 1 person in battle. This kind of battle loss is considered not bad." Qin Yin murmured, "The overall battle power of the Celestial Pole continent is indeed above us, especially in close combat. Even an elite force like the Longdan army camp can only fight them to a draw. If it were any other army, they would definitely suffer a loss." Lin Muyu nodded, "Pass down the order to continue the pursuit. No matter the cost, kill all the enemy in the Soaring Sky province. Leave no one alive." The old official Zheng Yifan stood up, cupped his fists, and said respectfully, "Your Highness, since we have already recovered our lost land, then we should quickly send officials and guards to Linghan City and other major cities to guard. We should also put up notices to pacify the people and restore the administrative order of the Soaring Sky province as soon as possible. Otherwise, the civilians will become rioters, and when that time comes, the bandits will run amok." "Lord Fan is right. Let's leave this matter to Aunt Luo." Qin Yin smiled. Su Yu said respectfully, "I understand. Please rest assured, Your Highness Yin." Zheng Yifan said again, "Although the pursuit of the enemy is still ongoing, this old official thinks that we should prepare for a rainy day. We should immediately transfer elite troops from each army to start training. Sangnan province will soon have a big battle. If we wait until then to start training troops, I'm afraid it will be too late." "What does Yifan think should be done?" Qin Yin asked. Zheng Yifan said, "Our army in Lingnan has a total of 230,000 troops, but after killing the Blackstone Empire's bandits, the number of soldiers that can fight is estimated to be only half, which is 110,000. At the same time, the major cities in the Soaring Sky province need a portion of the garrison to pacify the people. We also need to leave a large number of troops along the coast to resist the attacks of the Blackstone Empire's pirates. Therefore, we can only use half of the remaining troops, which is 50,000 people. At most, Lingnan can only transfer 50,000 troops to reinforce the steel wall. This is the most difficult part for us." Qin Yin nodded and did not say anything. Zheng Yifan was an old official for 3 generations. At the same time, he was also a highly respected and intelligent official. Naturally, there was not much to worry about with this old fox in charge. However, they could not completely give him power. Regarding this, Qin Yin, Lin Muyu, and Tang Xiaoxi had reached a consensus. Therefore, they had never given Zheng Yifan too high of a position and power. But now that there were so many things to be done, they had no choice but to use Zheng Yifan. Under the table, Lin Muyu held Qin Yin's little hand and motioned for her to speak. Qin Yin pursed her red lips and said, "Then this matter will be temporarily handed over to Duke Fan. Other than the troops in the Longdan army camp, which will be under Duke Wei's direct command, Duke Fan will be in charge of the rest of the army's reorganization. The commander of the new army will be Su Jiantao." Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh inwardly. Qin Yin was too smart. She gave half of the power to Zheng Yifan and let him do the work, but not the actual power. This was the most brilliant part of her plan. Zheng Yifan nodded in thanks. In reality, he didn't want that much. Lin Muyu picked up a plate of deer leg in front of her and sent it directly in front of Su Jiantao. She said, "Here, you won the battle. This is your reward. Drink some wine after you're done eating and immediately take your men to Linghan City. This city must be taken down as soon as possible." Su Jiantao accepted the plate with a smile. "Thank you for the meat, Your Highness." Tang Xiaoxi frowned slightly and said, "South Ridge can only contribute 50,000 troops, and Songnan Province's Qin Yan has less than 100,000 troops. Feng Jixing and Chen Xiaoli can't split themselves, so they can only take out 50,000 troops at most. With a total of 200,000 troops, can they really stop Bai Minghuan's army of 300,000? Lin Muyu's gaze swept across the row of people on the right and said, "This will depend on whether or not the battle angels are willing to help." Terralyn laughed softly, "I am Xin's man, of course I am willing to stay and help." Lake said, "I am also willing to follow Lord Xin." Zhou Shimi nodded, "Me too." Terralyn said, "Reporting to Your Highness there is another important matter. Lake has a crush on Lord Xin. Do you want me to help you teach him a lesson?" Lake's face was ashen, and he wanted to pinch her to death. Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. "Ahem, there is no need for that. Everyone should be united against a common enemy." But at this moment, a battle angel stood up, performed the Western Heaven Realm's etiquette, and said, "Lord Xin, now that you have restored your identity as the Shattered Cauldron Realm's Empress, and I am a battle angel of the Western Divine Realm, we cannot continue to follow Lord Xin. If I continue to follow you, it will mean that I have betrayed my faith and country." Qin Yin nodded and said softly, "Zak Ku, I know your difficulties, so I will not force you. After this meal, you can go anywhere you want. I will give you my blessings. If there really comes a day when you have nowhere to go, then come find me. The gates of the Qin Empire will always be open to you." "Thank you, Lord Xin." Zak Ku took a few steps back and knelt on one knee. The other two battle angels also stood up and expressed their withdrawal. They could not continue to help the Qin army attack the army of the Celestial Pole continent, or else they would be punished by the gods. Just like this, the battle angels under Qin Yin's command changed from 6 to 3 lunatics who were willing to go crazy and risk their lives with her. Chapter 9:12. At night, the moonlight was tranquil. There were many quiet courtyards in the courtyard of the dragon-slaying Pass Lord's residence. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi had arranged their rooms together. The two had been separated for too long, and the misunderstanding was too deep, so much so that they had too much to talk about. There was no sound in the quiet night. Only the faint chirping of insects could be heard from the distant fertile fields. The chirping was very melodious. The moonlight shone on the carved wooden railings of the corridor. Qin Yin held a cup of fragrant tea in her hand. Unable to fall asleep, she stood quietly under the moonlight. She raised her face and felt the clouds in the sky. "The bed is ready." Tang Xiaoxi walked out of the room and said in surprise, "Xiao Yin, you still want to drink tea at night? Be careful, you won't be able to sleep." Qin Yin smiled slightly, "I won't. Besides, I'm used to it. It's the same whether I sleep or not. For so many years, I haven't truly slept a night in peace." Tang Xiaoxi walked forward and held her hand. Pouting, she said, "Reincarnation must be very painful, right? What kind of feeling is that?" "The body and soul are separated and burned. It can't be said to be painful. Perhaps it can only be regarded as a kind of understanding? Qin Yin looked at Tang Xiaoxi and saw her face full of guilt. She must still feel guilty for killing her in the blood-red abyss. Qin Yin held Tang Xiaoxi's shoulder and said with a smile, "Silly Xiaoxi, don't think about it anymore. It's all in the past. This is what I deserve. If I don't do this, how can I atone in front of you? After all, Master Lan's death was caused by me." "Grandpa?" Tang Xiaoxi nodded speechlessly. After a long while, she said, "Grandpa is too selfish. He even ordered the descendants of the Tang family to attack Lanyan City and build up an army for himself. Everyone's standpoint is different. I've experienced a lot over the years, and I'm much more sensible than I was back then. I deeply understand that every time I instigate a rebellion, it not only brings about a change in the imperial power, but also a decade of disaster for the common people. Grandpa's death in Bailing City is a nightmare for me, but it's good news for the world." As she spoke, Tang Xiaoxi's red lips twitched, and she sat on the railing as she muttered, "I'm an unfilial descendant of the Tang family for saying such words. But that's what I think in the bottom of my heart. Little Yin, you're the successor of the Qin family, and you have your own standpoint. I hate you for killing my grandfather, but I also understand why you did it. If you selfishly allowed the world to descend into chaos for my sake, then you wouldn't only be letting me down, but the entire world. But, Xiao Yin, do you still blame me for what I did to you? I've heard about what happened to Yaoji." Qin Yin said quietly, "It's all in the past. We are good sisters, and we will never be separated in this life. We entrust our lives to each other, right?" Tang Xiaoxi nodded heavily. "I have nothing to worry about. For me, there are only two relatives in the world. One is you, and the other is Mu. Everything I do is for you. I'm good, Xiaoxi." Qin Yin opened her arms and hugged her. Her eyes reddened as she said, "It's just that Brother Ayu is stuck between the two of us. It doesn't matter." Tang Xiaoxi smiled faintly. "Actually, I've already thought it through. The love and marriage of mortals in the secular world are already very far away for us. We are gods, destined to leave the secular world and ascend to the heavens. You love Mu and I love her. Mu loves you and maybe she also loves me. As long as we are together, it's fine. We have eternal life. What we should think about is not selfishness and possessiveness, but companionship and sharing, right?" Qin Yin nodded. "You're right. I just don't know what Brother Yu is thinking." On the side, a person on a house not far away suddenly sat up. It turned out that he had long been lying on the roof, looking at the moonlight. Moreover, he was not breathing at all. In the entire Zhanlong Pass, perhaps only Lin Muyu could lower her spiritual sense to this extent. He smiled from afar. "I'm different from what you think." "Oh, how different?" Qin Yin asked with a smile. Lin Muyu gave 2 thumbs up. "I want to marry too. After we succeed in the Shattered Cauldron realm and retire, I want to bring you 2 back to my hometown to see my father. I want him to see his 2 daughters-in-law. Then, I'll hold a grand wedding in Shanghai." Tang Xiaoxi giggled. "Didn't you say that your hometown is monogamous? If you marry 2, aren't you afraid that your hometown's imperial court will punish you with the law?" If they really want to punish me with the crime of bigamy, then I'll just ascend. If they have the ability, they can go to the heavens to punish me." Qin Yin's pretty face turned red. She mimicked him and snorted. "He's actually so self-righteous. It's really unbearable. Xiaoxi, let's go beat him up, okay?" "Okay." 2 beautiful figures flashed and appeared beside Lin Muyu. One on each side, they held him down, looking like they wanted to beat him up. Lin Muyu complained incessantly. Back then, Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi didn't have high cultivation, so it was easy to deal with them. But now, both of them were God King realm experts. Moreover, they still had a lot of hidden strength. Their strength was extraordinary. If it wasn't for the fact that his cultivation wasn't bad, both of his arms would have been twisted off. Taking advantage of the situation, Lin Muyu hugged the slender waists of the 2 beauties. "All right, if you keep messing around, I'm going to scream murder." The 2 girls' faces instantly turned red. This kind of joke was already extremely dirty to them. At this moment, Terilyn's voice came from the room below. Hey, can you three lower your voices? A single dog like me has already suffered 10 trillion damage. Lord Xin, you have to be more dignified. You're our leader. Qin Yin's face turned even redder. Wu, alright, stop messing around. Let's get down to business. Lin Muyu was still hugging the two beauties on both sides. This was probably the reward for all those years of hardship and pain. While feeling the fragrance and vitality of the two beauties, he said, Xiao Yin, I heard that you're already the Dark Moon Queen of the Banished Land. The entire Banished Land is under your control? Qin Yin nodded. But those memories of fighting and killing each other, I'd rather not exist. No, they can still exist. I've seen the weapons of the Xin Legion's soldiers from the Banished Land. They seem to be very advanced. How many of them are still in Dragon-Slaying Pass? Qin Yin was at a loss. You want to study these weapons? Yes. Lin Muyu reluctantly let go of the two beauties' waists. She clenched her fists and said, Technology is the #1 productive force. Forget it. You might not understand, but these weapons might affect the future situation of the entire continent. Xiao Yin, how many more Banished Land legions are in Dragon-Slaying Pass? They didn't participate in the pursuit. They've basically all returned. There are about 7,000 or so left. They're stationed in the Xin Legion's camp 3 miles west of Dragon-Slaying Pass. Can you two sleep? Lin Muyu asked. The two beauties shook their heads. Very good. I can't sleep either. Let's go to the Xin Legion. I want to see those weapons and equipment from outside the world. Okay, Xin Legion. Nighttime. 2 huge war chariots were parked between the tents. The searchlights at the front were constantly rotating and scanning the surroundings. On the chariots stood 2 soldiers armed with Origin submachine guns. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. 3 silhouettes descended together. Who is it? Halt. The soldiers raised their guns vigilantly. The people inside the tents also rushed out with cold weapons or broken firearms in their hands. All of them looked nervously at the intruders. Under the illumination of the headlights, the figures of Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi appeared before everyone. So it's your majesty. The group of soldiers knelt down. Greetings, your majesty. Dispense with the formalities. Qin Yin raised her hand lightly. Go back to the tent and rest. I'm only here to visit. Yes. Qin Yin held Lin Muyu's hand. She smiled and said, All right, you can now examine these weapons and equipment. You can study any one of them in detail. Lin Muyu walked forward and said to one of the leaders, Can I see your weapon? How could the leader refuse? He hurriedly handed it over and said, Your Majesty, be careful. This is a heavy Origin rifle with powerful firepower. When used by a monarch rank expert, 1 shot is enough to kill a saint. Oh! Lin Muyu took the heavy rifle and studied it carefully. This kind of gun was similar to the guns on Earth, but the magazine was completely different. She couldn't feel a bullet enter the chamber at all after loading it. She asked, What's going on? What's the principle behind it? The leader laughed. Your Majesty, this Origin energy gun is different from ordinary guns. It doesn't rely on gunpowder to propel it, but rather, it needs to be charged with Origin power. You only need to pour a small amount of your power into the butt of the gun to charge it, but with your Majesty's power, just a small amount is enough. Otherwise, this gun will be useless. This leader had personally witnessed the battle between Lin Muyu and Bailey Qin, as well as the spectacular scene of Lin Muyu killing Fu Yu and Han Shu. The land of exile had always respected the strong, so he was naturally both respectful and fearful of Lin Muyu. Lin Muyu exerted force with one hand and slowly poured her supreme divine power into the Origin rifle. As expected, the charging mechanism in the magazine began to flicker and brighten up before Lin Muyu's power had even reached 5%. Your Majesty, that's enough. The leader was astonished. The Origin battery is about to explode. You can't go on. Oh, Lin Muyu returned the rifle to him and asked with a smile, Do you know how to make this kind of rifle? I don't. The leader shook his head and said, This lowly one is just a mercenary from a remote star system. I only know how to use them, but I don't know how to maintain them. Oh, Lin Muyu was somewhat disappointed. She asked again, Are there any mechanics in the army of exile? Mechanics? The leader was stunned. I think there's an old mechanic, but his strength is extremely low. He's practically a piece of trash. We've arranged for him to cook in the kitchen camp. His name is... This lowly one has forgotten. Lin Muyu looked as if she had obtained a treasure. She laughed in ecstasy and said, Don't say anything else. Bring me to this mechanic immediately. He knew that the changes this mechanic could bring to the Shattered Cauldron realm might be equivalent to Qin Xiling's value. This mechanic and Qin Xiling, two mortals, could produce enough power to change the future of an entire plane. Chapter 9:13. Inside the kitchen, when almost all the banished army had fallen asleep, the kitchen was bustling with activity. Dozens of people were rapidly preparing the ingredients for breakfast the next day. The people from the banished land were like starving ghosts. They couldn't fill their stomachs in the banished land all year round. In the end, coming to the Shattered Cauldron realm was like going to heaven. The Southridge province was incomparably fertile, and there were countless resources. Every day, they would eat white rice, meat buns, and meat dishes in soup until their bellies were round. Brats, go and carry that boar over. The old veteran shouted, Cut open its intestines and marinate it. We'll start roasting it at midnight. Our brothers will be able to eat delicious marinated meat in the morning. The group of young soldiers nodded and went to carry the boar. These soldiers were all handsome, and they could be considered pretty good-looking in the exile army. After all, they were the ones who cooked. If they were werewolves with scabies and ulcers all over their bodies, the food would probably be inedible. It was at this time that the leader opened the tent and walked in. Hey, what's your name again? I heard you used to be a mechanic? The veteran knelt down hurriedly. This lowly one is called Roger. They call me Old Roger. May I know why the leader is looking for me? Is the food not to your taste? I'm not looking for you. Someone is looking for you. The leader frowned and stepped aside. The next moment, Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi appeared in front of Old Roger. Old Roger was so excited that he almost breathed his last. He had seen the Dark Moon Queen more than once, but it was all from afar. He had never seen the Dark Moon Queen up close. He was so excited that he was about to explode. This lowly Roger greets your majesty. He knelt down hurriedly and kowtowed repeatedly. Qin Yin closed her eyes and held Lin Muyu's hand with a smile. No need to be so polite. I'm not the one looking for you. It's my big brother Yu who's looking for you. It's your highness Yu. Old Roger kowtowed again. May I know what your highness Yu needs? Lin Muyu helped him up and said, You don't have to be so polite. Logically speaking, I should call you an old driver. Oh, that's not right. I should call you old master. Old Roger was flattered. Your highness Yu, why are you looking for me? You're a mechanic? Yes, I've been a mechanic for a few years. During the Interstellar War, I followed the Federal Empire's fleet to battle once. But that time, it was too tragic. We encountered an army led by 2 god emperors from the Northern Heaven realm. The entire fleet disappeared in an instant. An entire interstellar fleet can't defeat 2 god emperors? Those are 2 god emperors above the 90th level of heaven. Godly state experts can also survive in the universe and don't have to worry about air. Furthermore, they can travel through space freely and can easily destroy our defense shield and avoid the attacks of the particle cannons. Even the laser plasma can't penetrate their god wall. All they need to do is to destroy the pressure system of each battleship and they can make us fall apart. Saying that, Old Roger sighed. The gap between mortals and gods is impossible to measure. What about thermonuclear weapons? Lin Muyu thought of the trump cards of many powerful countries on Earth. Old Roger couldn't help but smile. If your highness Yu thinks that thermonuclear weapons can penetrate the god wall, then you're lying to yourself. Moreover, The bodies of God state experts have been tempered and forged. Radiation is useless to them. But the technology of thermonuclear weapons is rarely achieved. How would your highness you know about it? My hometown is Earth, a planet in the Milky Way galaxy. Earth? Old Roger frowned. I think I've heard of it. That galaxy is still in the middle stage of development. Because of its remote location, it has avoided all the galactic wars. What a lucky person. However, if your highness you really comes from Earth, then no one will dare to invade this planet in the future. Let's get back to business. Lin Muyu said, I want you to help me improve these origin rifles and other weapons to deal with the Dragon Knights and the gods of the Western Divine Realm. Old Roger was stunned for a moment and couldn't help but smile. Your highness you, this lowly one has also said that an entire fleet can't do anything to two god emperors. How can these mere origin rifles deal with the experts of the Western Divine Realm? That's because you don't know about the Demon Heart Stone. Demon Heart Stone? Yes. The substance contained in this stone is the nemesis of God state experts. Once it enters the bloodline, it will restrict God power. This is what I want you to do. Extract the element from the Demon Heart Stone and add it to your firearms. Find a way to deal with the God state experts. As she spoke, Lin Muyu spread out her hands and smiled. If you have any needs, just tell us. We will try our best to satisfy you. Old Roger frowned. This lowly one can try, but I can't guarantee success. After all, the Shattered Cauldron Realm is still a low-level developed planet. Not to mention laser weapons, it doesn't even have a steam engine. To put it bluntly, I can't even build a reactor. I can only modify and improve our current weapons. It's hard to say whether it will succeed or not. Yes, I understand. Lin Muyu nodded. Let's go. I will bring you to meet the people of the Imperial Weapons Department. We will talk after you meet them. The more than 100 people of the Weapons Department of the Eastern Capital, Winterfrost City, were completely preserved. In order to protect them, at least thousands of Imperial soldiers were sacrificed. However, Lin Muyu also knew that it was all worth it. For the safety of Qin Xiling and the others, it was worth it no matter how many people were sacrificed. Late at night, Lin Muyu introduced Old Roger to Qin Xiling. This made Qin Xiling feel as if he had obtained a treasure. In the middle of the night, he gathered all the officials of the weapons department for a meeting. Presumably, they would not be able to sleep tonight. They worked until late at night, and when they finally finished, it was almost dawn. Lin Muyu brought the two beauties back to the small courtyard to rest. As they walked slowly along the corridor, her mood was much more relaxed. She said with a smile, the matter of the Ministry of National Defense has finally been settled. Next, it will depend on the results of the research. What is the Ministry of National Defense? I don't understand. Tang Xiaoxi pouted. You will understand in the future. Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said, everyone rest well. Wake up at noon. There may be new military intelligence sent from afar in the afternoon. After Linghan City is taken, we will go to Linghan City to rest for 2 days. Moreover, we will begin to gather troops and prepare to rush to Cangnan Province. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye, and a letter flew to Dragon Slaying Pass. Under the siege of Su Jiantao, Linghan City, the capital of Ling Sky Province, had finally been reclaimed and returned to the embrace of the empire. At noon, Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi brought Terralin and the others to Linghan City. Before the three entered the city, they saw the soldiers under Su Jiantao maintaining order in the city. The entire east wall of Linghan City had been severely damaged, with many places collapsing. Even the entire east wall tower had been razed to the ground. Qin Yin's eyes slightly reddened. Back then, the calm Sea-Mark Yao Yuan died tragically in battle here. He died at the hands of Duo La. Lin Muyu's sword-like eyebrows were tightly locked. This woman is also Luo Xian's murderer. Xiao Shi was almost injured by her hands. We must go and kill this vicious woman. Yes. Qin Yin said with concern. Your injuries have not fully healed yet. Let's talk about it after you have recovered. Duo La has 2 divine weapons in her hands. One is the Burgos spear, The other is the Dagger of Time. Both are very powerful. The Burgos spear can pierce through the god wall, and the Dagger of Time can control time. Before we have divine weapons of the same level, any one of us will be in danger against Duo La. Yes. Tang Xiaoxi nodded. That Duo La can not only delay the opponent's movements in a small area, but she can also speed up her own attacks, making it impossible to defend against. I have already suffered in her hands. Lin Muyu said. Fortunately, Xiaoxi is fine. This Duo La, let's not talk about her. Let's enter the city. Su Jiantao, Wei Chou, and the others were already kneeling outside the city. When Qin Yin led Lin Muyu, Tang Xiaoxi, and the others into the city, the commoners of Linghan City also knelt together to pay their respects to the former empress. At this point in time, Qin Yin had already changed into a flowing cloud dress. Even though she wasn't wearing the empress's crown, she still gave off an unconcealable noble aura. Furthermore, Su Jiantao had already posted the announcement of the empress's arrival in the city. At this point in time, even the empire's generals who were adept at warfare were kneeling down. This was enough to show how noble this young lady's status was. Qin Yin closed her eyes and slowly walked on the main street of the city. She could faintly smell the stench of blood on the ground. The Blackstone Empire was cruel and tyrannical. She really didn't know how these commoners managed to survive under the rule of the Blackstone Empire for 2.5 months. Greetings, Your Highness. All the generals and commoners shouted in unison. Qin Yin was slightly taken aback. She infused her divine power into her heavenly voice and said, "Everyone has suffered. The Qin family came late and caused everyone to suffer so much. But in the future, it will not happen again. As long as the Qin family exists, Linghan City will exist." The commoners all kowtowed. Wei Chou led the warhorses in front and let Qin Yin, Lin Muyu, and the others get on. Otherwise, it would probably take 2 hours to reach the governor's residence. However, Qin Yin didn't gallop wildly on the horse. Instead, she walked slowly and spent a full hour to reach the governor's residence. She knew that she had to let the commoners of Linghan City see her so that they would have hope again. The invaders had invaded and swallowed up half of the empire's territory. If there was no faith, no one would be able to continue working hard. Wei Chou urged his horse and followed closely beside Lin Muyu. He reported the situation of the battle. Xiang Yu's troops have already killed their way to Dongtian Prefecture and will soon reach the east coast. The Blackstone Empire has more than 200,000 soldiers, and it is already not bad if only 50,000 are left. Their era of rule in the Lingkong province is over. Good, very good. Did you set fire to their warships so that they have nowhere to go? No, your subordinate and Duke, you both miscalculated. We didn't think of this move. It's all right, I didn't think of it either. Lin Muyu rubbed her nose. Wei Chou grinned and didn't say anything. You're tuning in to the Wandering Hero YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.